What is up, YouTube? Welcome to the official Texas Sports Unfiltered pregame show. We are broadcasting live from the historic Crown and Anchor Pub right on the campus of the University of Texas at Austin, just a couple of minutes away from DKR Texas Memorial Stadium, which will be the site of tonight's last ever matchup between the Texas Longhorns and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. These two teams have met every year since 1960. And with the Longhorns making the move to the SEC starting next year, this is the last scheduled meeting between these two in-state rivals. And Texas has a lot on the line tonight. We are just over 2 hours away from kickoff here in Austin, and we can't wait. Once again, broadcasting live from Crown and Anchor Pub. If you are on your way to the game tonight, make sure you stop by here. There's a ton of people here already. Get you a beer, get you some food, and get ready. Our man Sal is in the building. What's up, Sal? And Sonny with the wrong hats. My God.
What in the hell is that?
That's unacceptable. I know he goes to school there, but come on. You can't father wearing a UT hat, son wearing a Texas Tech hat. What's going on here?
Some got loose.
Some got loose. Yep, and this is the last matchup. And look, there's a lot of families that are divided from this in-state matchup, but obviously a huge one for the Longhorns tonight. A win for Texas, Bucky, and the Longhorns are into the Big 12 championship game next weekend in Arlington. It's senior night. That's always a big deal. It's the last ever matchup between these two teams. That makes it a big deal. But with the Longhorns still having Big 12 and college football playoff hopes, this one is massive for Steve Sarkisian.
It really is. This is a glorious day here in the greatest city in America. It's not Lubbock, Texas, but it is absolutely fabulous today, BK. And this game means an awful lot to Longhorn fans and to the Texas Longhorns and their aspirations for a Big 12 championship and to get to the opportunity to play for a national championship too.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. It's as simple as win and you're in for Texas. There is a way where the Longhorns can lose this game today and they could still find themselves in the conference
We can't talk
championship
about
game.
that, though.
But nobody wants to talk about that.
No.
And we shouldn't talk about that. And obviously for Texas, they've got to win this one today to keep their college football playoff and national championship hopes alive. Once again, Texas and Texas Tech meeting for the final time. And the Longhorns have kind of owned this rivalry through the years. 54 wins, just 18 losses for the Longhorns all time against Texas Tech. But, of course, Texas looking for some revenge, Bucky. The game in Lubbock last year, funny that this is the conference finale because last year it was the conference opener for these two teams. Texas Tech beat the Longhorns in overtime, 37-34. It was a heartbreaking loss for the Longhorns. It was a huge win for then first-year head coach Joey McGuire. Texas Tech fans rushed the field. They damn near tore the goalpost down last year. So the Longhorns looking for a little bit of payback for what went down last season.
Yeah, it is kind of the payback tour, it seems like, this year. But this is a group this year that's a little bit more talented, the Longhorns, than they even were last year. And it's hard to say that when you have Bijan Robinson as your running back. But this group's a little bit more talented, a little more seasoned, at all positions right now, which is going to bode well. And for Texas Tech, they lost a number of players to the NFL, and this Texas Tech defense will have to hold on for dear life, I believe, tonight. I really do.
Yeah. Texas Tech 6-5 on the year. They did clinch a spot in a bowl game last year. But look, Texas Tech, they were doing a lot of talking in the offseason. The expectations were pretty high going into the year in Lubbock, and it's been an up and down season for the Red Raiders. But I will say this, Texas Tech has won 3 games in a row. They were 3-5 at one point in the season. They were kind of the laughing stock of the Big 12. Obviously, Texas fans were having their fun with Texas Tech, but every Big 12 fan base was like, really? You guys were talking like this was y'all's year and you're not even going to make a bowl game? Well, Tech has turned some things around. They got Baron Morton back at quarterback. Taj Brooks, their running back, has started to emerge as one of the best in the conference, if not one of the best in the country. And Tech's been playing some decent football as of late.
Yeah, Taj Brooks is a spectacular player, and he has been over the last couple of years. This isn't his first rodeo. He's been a good player for the last 3 years for Texas Tech, and I was expecting him to get a lot of carries tonight. I know he's going to go against a defense that's one of the best in the nation against the run, but I think Texas Tech is really going to lean on their running game.
Yeah.
They're going to try. They're not going to give in. They're not going to give up trying to run the football. And some of these 2-yard runs that they may get, because I don't see a lot of big plays, explosive plays out of them with this defense, but they're going to continue to try to do that. So for Texas, they have to be aware that even through the fourth quarter, Texas Tech is going to want to run this football.
Well, I'm kind of fascinated to see what Texas Tech's game plan is going to be because, over the last 6 weeks or so, they have relied on Taj Brooks heavily. And when you think of Texas Tech over the years, you think air raid, right?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Going back to Mike Leach, but with Cliff Kingsbury, with Matt Wells, like they wanted to throw to set up the run. They didn't really run a run at all.
No,
they were
not at
all
all
about the air attack. And at the start of this season, that's what Texas Tech was doing as well. I feel like you're going to go all the way back to the Tommy Tuberville days, and every Tech fan hates that guy's name, so sorry to bring him up. You got to go way back to remember a Texas Tech team that has kind of relied on the run as much as this Texas Tech team has done as of late. But like you said, the Longhorns have a top 5 rushing defense in college football. They're 4th in yards per game allowed. They're 5th in yards per carry allowed. I mean, Iowa State, which was a decent running team, ran it for a total of 9 yards against the Longhorns last week. A couple of weeks ago, Texas held Kansas State to their lowest rushing output since 2014. I mean, this Texas defense is littered with first-round talent, and they have been awesome against the run this season. So I do wonder if Texas Tech, the run game has been working for them, but I do wonder because Texas's secondary has been the weakness of its defense, I wonder if maybe they try to go back to more of an air raid style offense, throwing to set up the run versus what they've done lately.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, the way the secondary has been playing, I would think that you'd start throwing the ball all over the place because we know Joey McGuire, no matter where the 4th down comes, if it's 4th and 3 or less, he's going for it. I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's at his own 30-yard line. He's going to go for it on 4th down. He did that last year. That was his MO, and it's still his MO even this season. So I expect him to go for a lot of 4th downs. And if they can't get it on the run, they're definitely going to be throwing the ball. You're right. Why wouldn't you attack Texas in the air?
Right. So I don't know. Like, of course they want to run it with Taj Brooks, but I think the game plan is going to be throw to set up the run. I mean, I think you're hurting yourself if you just run it into the teeth of this defense.
And get in 3rd and longs, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, for Texas Tech, they like those in-breaking routes. They call a lot of slants.
Oh, boy.
They've got a lot of crossers, those mesh routes. Like, that's what's been plaguing Texas. Even though Texas held Iowa State to just 16 points last week, and the Longhorns won that by double digits, Iowa State's quarterback, Rocco Begg, threw for more than 320 yards, and a lot of that was on short and intermediate throws. So I think we're going to see Texas Tech, even though they haven't been doing that lately, right? Even though running it with Taj Brooks a lot has been the key to this 3-game win streak, I think if they're smart and Zach Kitley, their offensive coordinator, knows what he's doing, he's going to go back to more of the passing game to try to throw to set up the run a little bit.
I'm hoping the secondary understands that they can't give up this inside position the way they did last week and play, outside arm and all that stuff. That was kind of ridiculous. It never stopped. I mean, they never stopped the slant last week. And, they got that slant route over and over and over from the beginning. And once they found it last week, Iowa State, they didn't stop running it. And why would you?
Right.
So you're probably going to see a lot of this if the defensive position, the defensive backs don't change their position on outside, especially when you get to those 3rd and 5s. Anytime they get 2nd and 5, 3rd and 5, they'll go to the slant if you give it to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And why wouldn't you?
So what's your confidence in Texas today, man? I mean, this is the biggest regular season game the Longhorns have played in a while. Obviously, you can just say, well, look what they did in week 2 in Tuscaloosa. They went on the road. They played Nick Saban in Alabama. And we all remember how well that game went for the Longhorns. But in terms of what's at stake for Texas, they haven't played a game this big in the regular season since maybe 2009, which, of course, was the last time they had a record this good going into senior night. There's a lot at stake for this Texas football team here. What's your confidence that the pressure, the moment, whatever you want to call it, is not going to get the best of them?
I think the pressure's been on them ever since the Oklahoma game. I think they've had to play with pressure every week since they lost Oklahoma. I think the team understood. I think the coaching staff understood if they lost Oklahoma, it was going to be a week in, week out playoff bid for them.
Yeah.
And they've played well in that. They played well with the backup quarterback for 2 games or well enough to win the game. I don't know if they played, Sark has talked about they haven't played their best football yet, but they have played their best football. Their best football was against Baylor and Alabama. In between, they played enough, they played well enough to win the games. But those weren't their best games that they won those games for sure.
Right.
Do they have to play their best game tonight? I would say it probably is a good time to do it. The last game of the year with going to playing the Big 12 championship, on the line. I would say, yeah, I would venture to say for sure that they'd have to play their best game because they haven't played their best game since Alabama or Baylor.
No, it's been a while, and we're talking about style points right now, right? I mean, for Texas to get
talking to style points because I know what you're looking for.
I'm trying to make the playoff. You're 10-1 right now, and if you go 12-1, which would obviously mean a win tonight and then a win next Saturday in Arlington,
you need some style points.
Yeah, you got to have some style points because right now Texas is ranked number 7 in the country. So in some years, hey, you don't need style points. Like TCU,
just need to win, yeah.
TCU last year was barely winning. They were barely winning. And hell, they lost the conference championship game to K-State, but they still made it to the playoff because there just weren't enough good teams last year to knock them out. That's not the case this year, right?
No.
Texas is ranked number 7, despite having maybe the most impressive win in college football, that road win at Alabama, and being 10-1 in a Power 5 conference. The Longhorns need to really impress the committee over the next couple of weeks. They obviously need some help, right? Some of the teams ranked ahead of Texas need to lose, but for Texas to really feel good about making it to the CFP, they've got to not only win these next 2 weeks, they've got to win and look good doing it.
Yeah, I don't believe they're going to hop over anybody. I mean, even if they get to the title game and they win that title game, they have to have one of these wins. Has got to be pretty impressive. And why not tonight? Senior night, the last game of the season, the game that gets you into the Big 12 championship game next week. So why not impress everybody?
Yeah, I mean, Texas is a 14.5-point favorite. The line movement this week has been sporadic for this game. I think Texas opened as about a 13.5-point favorite. A couple of days ago, the line had gone down to 12.5, which meant the early money was coming in on Tech. And then now, as we sit, just over 2 hours away from kickoff, Texas is a 14.5-point favorite. So Vegas is telling you this game shouldn't be all that close. You'd like for it to be 4 or 5 touchdowns as we get a wreck 'em here from Texas Tech fans. Unfortunately for them, not smart enough to get into the University of Texas, but we do appreciate them coming out to today's game. 14.5-point line. So Vegas is telling you that this should not be that close. We shouldn't have to be dealing with one of those second-half collapses, one of those 60-minute heart-wrenching type of games that Texas has played so many of this year. Hopefully Texas is able to win and cover.
Yeah, you know what? Last week was that, a 6-3 halftime score was worrisome, but I never really felt real worried because I thought Texas just had the better players and eventually they were going to come out ahead.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in that kind of circumstance tonight. I don't feel that that's good for the team. I'd love to have a touchdown and a field goal, at least a 10-point lead at halftime. None of that 6-3 stuff that we saw last week. And once again, when you're playing on senior night, things can go one way or the other. I've been at senior nights, coaching football where it's some guys want to get outside the box. They want to do things on their own. They want to prove to you on their last game on their home field how it should be done.
Yep.
They get outside the box and things happen. And some guys this is one of those nights that a guy who may not be one of the prime players in a football game becomes very, very special to your football team too.
Definitely.
And that's what I'm expecting tonight.
Let's hear from Steve Sarkisian. This is from his press conference earlier this week. His opening remarks about this matchup against Texas Tech.
Celebrate this team, to where this team has come. And I know what everybody's gone through over the last decade or so. And so for the fact that this team has one more opportunity to play in DKR, Friday night, we're looking for a raucous, intense crowd, one that fuels our players with energy, but hopefully, again, like I always say, the players have to do their part. We have to do our part to fuel the fans with energy too. So hopefully everybody can make it. Everybody have a little turkey on Thursday. Enjoy your Friday afternoon, and then get to DKR for, I think, for us an awesome ball game against a really good opponent. I think Tech, it really had a tough start to the season. I know we all go through it, and you never know when injuries show up. But they were fighting that injury bug earlier in the year. And I think, as you could see them getting themselves healthier and healthier, they've strung together 3 in a row now. They're playing really good defense. They're running the football extremely well, kind of have changed philosophically that way. So we know we're going to get their best shot. And so we've got to do a great job of preparation this week for a heck of a ball club. And should be an exciting night Friday night.
BK, last time we were here, it was 11 a.m. football game, and I said that the fans would have a lot to do with the victory at 11 a.m. I think that goes for tonight too. I mean, fans will be pretty juiced up. This has been a long day of hangover from the turkey from last night, but it hadn't stopped anybody from downing those beers, I noticed. I mean, they're still slamming those babies.
Oh, if the crowd at DKR is anything like the crowd at Crown and Anchor right
Wow.
now, then we're in for a doozy tonight.
Oh, I believe that they'll be a big part of a win tonight at DKR, and it should be that way because there's a lot for the fans. They're invested in this football team, and they have been from the start. And I didn't see that wane ever, even after the Oklahoma game. You just didn't see it. The thoughts of, hey, we can get back and play them again, which Oklahoma really has to worry too about how they're going to get back. They need some help. But for Texas, it's win and you're in.
Yeah.
And if the fans can help that, that's going to be very, very important tonight.
We've got a flyover during our broadcast.
Very nice.
Yeah, they were supposed to fly before we started, but I guess they decided to do it during the.
Why not? A flyover Santa Claus right here, huh?
Yeah, how about this inflatable Santa Claus on top of the roof here at Crown and Anchor?
I need that in my front yard. See what my dog would do to that.
Our guy Big John, who helps run the show here, said he put that up last night. How the hell did he get up there to do that? My God. I need one of those in my place. Think that'll fit in my apartment?
Sure it will.
Yeah. I need that, and I need one of those like wacky inflatable tube men that they have at the car dealerships
No.
that dance like crazy. I'm looking for one of those. If anybody has an inside track, please let me know on that deal. It should be a great crowd. This is Texas's first and last and only Big 12 home night game. The last time Texas has played a game here at night was the Wyoming game. It's the only night game Texas has played. You think of all the night games they've played this year. Obviously, the last 2 weeks in Ames, in Fort Worth, the game in Waco, the game in Tuscaloosa. So many night games for Texas, but it's been months since they've actually got to play one at home. I think some people remember the drone show in between the third and the fourth quarter against Wyoming. We're going to see that. We're going to see those new LED lights that just started this year. Like, of course, there's a ton at stake. It's a rivalry game, whatever. But also just I think there's going to be that extra juice that you're talking about because it's been a long time since Texas has played a game at night here at home.
Yeah, there'll be a full-fledged lathering of the fans here tonight.
Oh, yeah.
As they get ready.
What kind of lathering are we talking? Like KY jelly?
No. Just
they're going to have an old school situation
they're
here.
Be foaming. They'll be foaming at the mouth for this football team. And as I said, for senior night, there's some fantastic seniors that'll play their last game at DKR tonight here too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I expect one of them to be my MVP, as a matter of fact.
You want to go offensive player of the game or defensive player of the game?
Go offensive player of the game. How about Jordan Whittington on his way out?
Okay. Is he actually a senior? Like, I
don't think he's allowed to come back for a seventh year.
All right, I know.
This isn't basketball. This is not like Cunningham coming back for his 7th or 8th year.
Cunningham still has 3 years left.
Yeah,
he's only
really?
a redshirt sophomore.
Okay, well, I expected Jordan Whittington on his way out to have a very similar type of game that he had against Oklahoma, which got wasted with his 10 catches on that afternoon. So I expect for him to be a big part of this offense tonight. He's starting to come around, starting to do some nice things. He always does good things. He's always a part of it, whether it's knocking balls away that have been intercepted from opposing defensive players, but or in the run game when he's out there blocking or quick screen blocking. But I expected him to be a real part of this offense tonight.
Yeah, Jordan Whittington made an impact last week.
Yes, he did.
Right? His best statistical game of the season came in Dallas against Oklahoma, but Jordan Whittington's first and only touchdown of the year came last week on a beautiful play design from Steve Sarkisian on a 3rd and short where Whittington faked the block, right? It looked like a run play all the way. I'll give Jay Witt credit for but the perfect deke on that block, fooling the Iowa State defense, and then he just broke free into the secondary, and there's nobody around him. It'd be nice for Jordan Whittington to have that type of impact again because we know how much attention Xavier Worthy generates. We know how much attention Adonai Mitchell generates.
Yes.
Jordan Whittington, sometimes the forgotten guy, and I feel like that should open things up for him a little bit more. We haven't seen that as consistently as I think anybody would have liked this season, but maybe last week can be the start of a change.
Right, and when you watch him and when Coach talks about it, when Sark talks about Jordan Whittington, from the moment he got here, that was his guy. This is my guy. I love this guy. Well, once again, as I've said over the last 2 years, show him some love.
Yeah.
Throw him the football. You threw him the ball at Oklahoma. It didn't work out for you as a team, but he had a great game there. I thought last week it was fantastic for him to get that touchdown, but he's always a part of the game. But show him some love. He can catch. He can actually catch the ball and can run with it once he gets it. So this would be a great night for him, I believe, on senior night.
Yeah, and he's got more heart than Hallmark on Valentine's
there is no
Day.
doubt about that.
Yeah.
I love watching him play.
Yeah, you want to hook all the seniors up tonight if you can. And look, there are a lot of guys who will be playing their last game at DKR, not just the seniors. I mean, Xavier Worthy, that's a guy who's probably off to the NFL. Davion Sanders, that's a guy who's probably off to the NFL. And there are a number of juniors and redshirt sophomores on this team who might be playing their last ever game here in Austin. So just an extra incentive to try to get this one done tonight. But I like that pick, Jordan Whittington as your offensive MVP. Who am I going to go with tonight? I got to go.
Oh, well, sorry, Brooks isn't here tonight, so you can't go with him.
No, well, you went with the quarterback last week. Don't get on me for going with the obvious pick. You chose Quinn Ewers, which was a great call, and I'm going to steal that this week. I'm going to go with
There
Quinn
you go.
Ewers. Jury's still out on whether or not this will be Quinn Ewers' last game at DKR, right? There was an insider report a couple of weeks ago that said there's a 90% chance Quinn Ewers is coming back for another season. But I said he hasn't made that decision. There's no way he's made that decision.
Sure.
And if he plays really well tonight, he plays really well next weekend and leads Texas to a conference championship, the Longhorns make the playoff, and Quinn Ewers plays a great game in the college football playoff semifinal, then, hey, he might be leaving.
Sure.
He might be leaving.
Yeah, why would he come back?
So I think he's going to put on a show, man. I mean, Texas, the last time Texas Tech played here, everybody talks about, what Texas did last year in Lubbock. The last time these two teams met in Austin, Texas put a 70 spot on Texas Tech. I'm not sitting here telling you we're going to get that, but I think Quinn Ewers is going to build off his strong performance. I know he's still not 100%.
You take a nice 40 burger, though.
Oh, I'd love that. He's still probably not 100%. You could tell the shoulder was ailing him a bit last week in Ames. It is a short week with this game obviously being on a Friday. So maybe those are all reasons why I shouldn't be going with Quinn Ewers, but I just think he shows up and shows out, and Texas has a big-time offensive output led by number 3.
Yeah, I thought it was excellent last week. I thought they protected him really well. The offensive line did a fantastic job. You know, they've been playing fantastic when it comes to the passing game lately, and I think I know he was still sore. He had to be. You're only 5 weeks removed from having a real bad kind of injury, and I think he's played well during the course of it. But you know what? I'm glad it's a nice warm evening too. This is going to be okay for him. This helps the shoulder really.
Yeah. It's warmer this week than it was in Ames.
Not as wet,
That's for sure. Looking at the forecast right now, even though you're the weather guy,
I am just the rain guy. I'm not the weather guy. I'm just the rain guy.
Is it going to rain tonight?
No.
Okay. Wow, great call. Not a cloud in the sky. Bold pick by you.
And of course, December 21st will not be the start of winter.
I
will let you know still.
No, I'm convinced that is actually the start of winter. That is how it works. 55 degrees at kickoff, and should be clear skies tonight. It'll dip into the upper 40s by the time we get towards the end of the game, but weather shouldn't be a factor. Hardly any wind right now in Austin, and like you said, no chance of rain. So that should not be an issue for either team. I'll go with Quinn Ewers for my offensive
good pick, buddy.
MVP, and that's brought to you by our friends at Verde's Mexican Parrilla.
You know what? I almost thought of maybe I should go to Verde's for Thanksgiving, but they were closed.
Were they?
Yeah. They would have done a fine turkey, I guarantee you, just like they do that fine chicken.
No, their food
with zucchini.
Their food's ridiculous.
Mushrooms and cheese.
Is that all you get over there? Have you tried anything else? They've got an extensive menu with a bunch of good stuff.
Jack Allen's has an unbelievable menu, but you know what I always have there? The rainbow trout, my friend. I'm the trout guy there.
Same thing every time.
Every time.
Well, Verde's, I don't know if they have rainbow trout.
No, they don't. They do fish tacos, but they don't mess with the trout.
They've got everything, man.
Yes, they do.
All of your traditional Mexican and Tex-Mex favorites.
Love it.
Beautiful indoor dining area. But, hey, if you're looking for a place to watch the game tonight, how about their covered patio?
Oh, yeah. Tonight will be hopping there.
Oh, yeah. Space for the whole family. They've got a huge grass area with footballs, frisbees, playground, games, so much for the kids. And you can enjoy a couple of margaritas and enjoy the college football all night and all season long. Go see them off Hamilton Pool Road, right off 71. Our friends at Verde's Mexican Parrilla. Look who it is.
Hey, it's my doctor. My doctor's in the house.
Dr. Trey Elling III.
Yes.
What's up, boys?
How are you today?
Great. It's good to finally be out at Crown and Anchor with you guys for post-game or pre-game, excuse me.
Post-game?
Yeah.
How many have you had?
Too much turkey yesterday. I've only had coffee today, so that should not be happening.
Yeah. It's not an alcohol-induced hangover. It's a turkey hangover.
It's being 45 years old and losing your mind.
You lost yours a long time ago.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now I'm just losing my memory.
You and us both. It's a beautiful day. Perfect day for a game. The whole fam's out. Shout out to Vivi. Shout out to Calvin.
Here.
Shout out to Justine. The whole gang is in the building. First game for y'all this year?
First game for the family. Calvin and I have been to one. And then I've been to one or two others on my own or with Justine. But as far as the full family is concerned, we picked a good one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Should kick the hell out of the Red Raiders tonight and clinch a Big 12 title game appearance in the process.
So you sent your score prediction to me yesterday. And
yes.
Based off that, you're feeling like this will be an ass-kicking tonight.
Yeah, Texas Tech, they've been okay throwing the football at times against lesser defenses, but that's all contingent on Taj Brooks getting going with the ground attack, and we know what Texas defense is really good at right now. That is completely shutting down the opposing rushing attack. So I think that their ability to get the run game going isn't going to happen, and therefore Texas will stifle the Red Raiders offensively, and defensively Texas Tech is going to have a hard time keeping up with this Texas offense. I liked what you just said about Quinn Ewers, BK. He calibrated as he's continuing to recover from that AC joint injury last week, looked better than the first week back. And I think this week you see a little bit more zip on the ball to go along with that accuracy to his receivers. And we all feel pretty good about C.J. Baxter and his ability to pick up the slack that had been created by Jonathan Brooks going down to that season-ending knee injury.
Notice how my doctor uses words like calibrate? You know, you and I don't mess with that kind of shit.
I don't know what that means. Any word more than 6 letters is difficult for me to understand.
Calculate, I can get that, but I can't calibrate anything.
That's too long for me.
Yeah.
You brought up C.J. Baxter. Buck, you and I have talked for about 25 minutes. We haven't even talked about C.J. Baxter. Maybe that's how good we feel. I mean, that was obviously the whole conversation going into the Iowa State game, right? Like, what is this offense going to look like without Jonathan Brooks, who had been the best and most consistent offensive player for the Longhorns this season? C.J. Baxter just goes out there and picks up right where Jay Brooks left off. He goes for more than 100 yards. Buck, I feel like Texas fans, even though it's only been one game where C.J. Baxter has kind of taken over as the starter, I feel like we all feel pretty good about what he can do.
Well, I don't think you have a choice because there's nobody else. I mean, he's played a lot of football this season. It's not like that was last week was his first game getting in. He was the starter for the first 3 games. You know, he was the starter for the first 2. It's not like he hadn't played. So our expectations of one of the better running backs in the country out of high school would by this time of the year be ready to play. And I think he went above and beyond last week. Saw him do some really nice things, made some nice moves, finished runs, picked up the blitz, and helped out when it came to picking up the blitz. And this is just another game. This is another game for him to really just make people understand that this guy's going to be here for quite a while, and he's going to be very good for quite a while too.
Yeah, Trey, you confident in C.J. Baxter? I mean, you think he can build off what he did in Ames last weekend?
I think we saw a guy up until he absolutely had to get it together again who was falling a little bit too quickly. And maybe that's the result of him running so hard at the start of the season and getting himself hurt in the process, that he's trying to diminish the car crash effect every time he's initiating contact. But he realizes it's go time now. He is as healthy as he's been since that very first couple of series of the season. And they don't have Jonathan Brooks anymore, so they need somebody to step up. And like great players tend to do, given the opportunity, he has made the most of it at least through one game.
It'd be interesting to see how he plays throughout his career because, you know, during his whole freshman year, he's come up lame on a couple runs where you look like, is this going to be the way he plays the game? It may be just the way he plays the game. You know, that whole limping, and I look like I hurt on this kind of contact would drive me crazy as his coach. But then again, he comes back in the game. He came back on a pretty hard tackle last week, and I didn't know if he was going to come back, but he came right back in the game. But he falls funny.
Well, he clearly needs to attend the Bucky Godbolt School of Falling Good, much like Tua Tagovailoa has. And Tua's stayed healthy the first half of the NFL season.
Learn how to fall.
There's a little bit of a playing possum to that, where you're always coming up, grabbing something or moving something around or limping a little bit.
Jim
where you're
Brown
trying
was
to
the best in the world at it.
Oh, is that right?
Jim Brown did that all the time. He always came up rubbing his knee or rubbing his back and walking back very slowly. And
he was also the best in the world at treating women, I was told.
Yeah, but you know what he did? They gave him the ball again and again and again and again. So I'm hoping this is just something a young guy is, as he's growing, he doesn't need to rub everything every time he gets hit. He can just go. You're allowed to go right back to the huddle and be okay.
He definitely does not need to rub everything whenever he's getting up from contact on the football field.
No,
BK.
A lot of dudes on the field. We don't need to be rubbing any of them, actually. As a matter of fact. Oh, man. What about you talked about, it's funny, Trey, we brought this up earlier. The Texas Tech offense that I've seen in the last 6 weeks is an offense that I haven't seen out of a Texas Tech team in like 15 years. They have relied heavily on the ground game. I mean, that's been their offense. They've been giving the ball to Taj Brooks 25 to 35 times a game, and it's kind of working. They've won 3 in a row. Now, they had injuries, right? Tyler Shuck was the starting quarterback. He broke his leg. He's out for the year. Hell, now he's in the transfer portal. Baron Morton had to miss a couple of games. He's back now, but they've had injuries at quarterback. But even with Baron Morton back, it's just felt like Texas Tech has been a run-first type of team. Like you said, it seems like that matchup favors Texas. What do you think Tech does? Do you think they stick with the ground game, or do you think they resort back to being, the Texas Tech that we've seen over the last 15 years?
I think they would be smart to try and set up the run with the passing attack. Those quick passes over the middle of the field that have been a sort of Achilles heel to this Texas defense, especially over the last month or so, guys. But I remember checking in on the Tech game last week. I did not watch anywhere close to the full thing, but just checking in on the box score, like midway through the third quarter, Taj Brooks already had like 25 carries.
Wow.
And part of me was saying to myself, gosh, there were a couple of games this year that I wish Steve Sarkisian had done that with Jonathan Brooks or a combination of those two guys. But to your point, Joey McGuire not afraid to lean on what is clearly the strength of his offense. they would do themselves well, or at least give themselves more of a chance to try and zag tonight and throw first a little bit more to set up Taj Brooks on maybe second and medium plays to see if he can find some running room when the Longhorn defense is on their heels, worried about that passing attack.
You know they're going to do everything in their powers. You know, fourth down plays, they're going for it.
Oh, yeah.
Fourth and 6, 4th and 8.
That's Joey McGuire's MO, regardless of whether it's Texas.
Yeah, that was a huge problem for Texas last year. Texas Tech was 6 for 8 on 4th downs in that game.
That's amazing.
Yeah, usually it's a big deal. You get a stop on 3rd down. You see the defense all hold up their fists. They're celebrating like they did something. And Texas Tech just kept going for it. It was like that little kid playing Madden, like to hell with the punter. We're not punting at all. We're not kicking field goals. We're going for it on every single 4th down. And unfortunately for Texas, Texas just couldn't get stops. The good news is Donovan Smith is not playing.
Yeah,
that guy has tortured Texas in the 2 games for 2 different schools that he played against the Longhorns. But, they'll be aggressive. They'll be exotic. I mean, this is a huge game for Texas Tech. It's a huge game for Texas because of what's at stake. But Texas is Texas Tech's biggest rival. And this is their last time to get to play them. And they know that Texas has owned this rivalry over the years. The Longhorns have won 54 of the 72 matchups. But if Texas Tech can end this rivalry on a 2-game winning streak and they get the bragging rights of winning the last ever matchup between these two teams, that would be huge for them. Basically, I'm saying all that to say, yeah, Joey McGuire is going to do what he did last year. You're going to see all sorts of trickeration. You're going to see exotic blitz packages. Sure. You're going to see them pull out every single stop to try to win this game tonight.
Yeah, and assuming that means begging Brett Yormark to give him a few more calls than they'd probably be getting otherwise, too.
He'll be in the building tonight.
Are they going to get more than they got last week?
I don't know
if they can get – that was on the road, though.
I don't know. It depends on who the officiating crew is. People have been saying they're going to hold off on Kevin Marr until the Big 12 championship game. But, hey,
no,
Brett Yormark,
if he
knows what's – is he tonight?
Yes.
He's on the crew tonight?
Is that an opinion, or are you reporting something here?
I'm reporting that.
Oh, boy.
Okay, well, let me check Twitter to see if that's true, because I feel like that's not true. Mike Gundy, just making that up. Now they're saving Kevin Marr for next week.
Do we know that Brett Yormark is definitely in the game, or did he pop positive for COVID on Wednesday?
According to Young Brock, our intern / remote tech, Brett Yormark is here.
All right, good for Brett.
Kevin Marr is
tonight. Gosh, Bucky knew.
Why would they save him for next week? Why wouldn't they get him? They don't want Texas to be there, so why save him for next week? They don't care.
Yeah.
If Oklahoma's not there, they don't. I mean, or Texas or Oklahoma's not there, they could care less. They want to get rid of Texas tonight.
Wow. Yeah. Maybe Kevin Marr gets next week too if Texas wins.
Could be.
Yeah, they'll go back to back. Oh man. Yeah. I mean, what?
The worst crew in college football. In any football.
The refs took 2 touchdowns off the board last week for Texas. So what are we thinking? 3, 4, 5 tonight with Kevin Marr?
I just hate the mystery calls. I hate the mystery calls that you go back and when they rewind it, you're looking and the announcers say, "Oh, I think it was right there," and the announcers are like, "Well, but I don't know." I don't know.
I thought that the Kelvin Banks hold was less egregious than the block in the back. Both I could see being called depending on how the game is being officiated. But considering you were letting the other team get away with murder, not just last week, but pretty much every week against Texas and Oklahoma, it's like, give me a break.
Well, the punt return penalty didn't have to be. They were already passed. I mean, I don't know why the player. I mean,
that was a little bit on Keaton Crawford for sure. And he was getting chewed out by the coach afterwards too.
Yeah, I thought that was a bad call, but it is what it is. Texas got the win last week. And look, if you're the Longhorns, you want to take this game out of the officials' hands. I mean, that's what Texas did, right? Obviously, in the first half against Iowa State, the game was close. Texas led 6-3 at halftime. So those officiating calls felt massive.
Yeah.
Right. But then Texas started figuring things out offensively, and they got some stops on defense. They got a couple of two possession double-digit leads, and then you just didn't have to worry about the refs so much. So Trey, if Texas is a 14.5-point favorite, if they're up by 2 or more scores throughout most of this game, we're not going to be moaning, bitching, complaining about the refs all throughout because the guys on the field will be deciding the game.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You just stay focused on the task at hand. If anything, you let that motivate you to continue to do exactly what you know you're capable of and play clean enough that there can't even be those questionable calls that they are flagging you for.
They're more than questionable. They're taking points off the board from you. I mean, some of them are just ridiculous. I mean, the illegal procedures, things like that, we got it. We see that just as fans on TV. But some of as you said, the Kelvin Banks one, I mean, there was no yanking, there's no pulling, there's no misdirection. That guy wasn't going anywhere. That ball was gone.
Yeah, well, he moved to Kelvin Banks' left, so he moved to his outside, and his hands
left his
stayed
hands
on the
there.
jersey for just long enough. But that's one of those plays also that I think if you're calling it square, you see that as soon as he realizes, because you're grabbing that jersey whenever you're blocking a guy. People don't realize that. You know that,
it's
obviously.
grabbed
We
all
know
the time,
that's just a regular part of blocking. And as soon as the guy moves one way or the other, you let go. But you're given a tiny bit of leeway. And it seemed like they were not giving as much leeway as they should have in that moment.
I'm with you.
But you also saw jersey getting pulled too. So
yeah. All right, we are broadcasting live at Crown and Anchor Pub. We've got an Ohio State fan standing in line. You're in the wrong state. The game is in Michigan, not in Texas. You're aware of that. Getting started early.
You
got a red-eye flight to Ann Arbor tonight. How you getting there? Got an Ohio State fan. Good luck to you. You know, they know your place. They know your plays.
That's right.
I'd feel confident in Ohio State winning if Michigan didn't know exactly what they were going to run.
But
for
they
all
know
four
the plays
quarters.
now.
Yeah, that's what an advantage that must be. They're all going to jail. Says
Lock them up.
Sounds like a fan in Columbus when the opposition is in town, based on the Longhorns experience back in 2005.
Yeah, a lot of Texas fans did not have fond
Oh, no.
memories of that trip to Columbus, but the game on the field, I guess, was pretty good. We
Yes,
all
it
remember
was.
that one in a positive light. All right, Trey, while we've got you, Bucky and I already gave out our offensive MVP predictions brought to you by our friends at Verde's Mexican Parrilla. How about a defensive MVP prediction? You going with the senior, going with the defensive lineman? We'll give you the honors first. Who is your pick to be the defensive player of the game tonight for the Longhorns?
You know, for a long time, my default was Jalen Ford, but I'm shifting off of him a little bit. Still been a great player, but he hasn't been flashing nearly as much as last season. Let's go with T'Vondre Sweat. This is going to be his last home game. He will be going pro after this. There's a good chance that he is the very first Longhorn taken come April. And I think he has a huge game. Is obviously an integral part of stopping Tech's rushing attack, Taj Brooks and company. And I think we see him do a good job of not only getting pressure on the quarterback, but also freeing up his teammates to get pressure on the quarterback as well.
Okay, Bucky?
I'm going with Johnny Barron, and I think an interception and a fumble recovery tonight for him.
All right.
Both.
Yeah.
Another guy who has one more year theoretically, but is probably playing his last home game.
No,
tonight.
please tell me he'll come back for one more. Just one
I'm
more.
hearing he's gone.
Move you up another round.
Well, I mean, look, it may, and we'll take care of you in the meantime financially.
There you go.
I'll start a GoFundMe.
Me too.
I'll Venmo him a few bucks to come back.
Texas One Fund has it covered, guys. It's all about whether he wants to come back.
Yeah, I like his chances of getting a pick tonight, but definitely a fumble recovery.
Okay. God, I went with Byron Murphy last week, and I feel like I won. I feel like I deserved a prize because he was awesome.
He was awesome.
1.5 sacks in that game against Iowa State.
But he was everywhere.
Yeah, you didn't have big fat Jared Huffer talking trash this week.
Oh,
though.
no.
I mean, that trash talk he gave at the start of Iowa State week, I think gave the Texas defensive line a little bit of added motivation going into the game to perform well. I will go with who have I not picked this year? Trying to think of something. Not picking Jett Bush.
Michael Taft.
Not going Michael Taft.
Come on,
either.
man.
I guess I'm reverse racist with my defense.
Well, I know you're not going.
I'm not going Ethan Burke, so quit asking.
I know you're not going any cornerbacks.
All right. I'm going to go with David Benda. And last week he was really good. He actually graded out as the best linebacker in all of Power 5, not just at Texas, not just in the Big 12, but in all of Power 5 college football. He was flying all over the place against Iowa State. And I think these linebackers are going to be important tonight, stopping the run with Taj Brooks, but also with what Texas Tech wants to do through the air with a lot of in-breaking routes, with a lot of short and intermediate throws. The Texas linebackers haven't been great. I'm not sure they've been all that good in coverage this year, but I'm going to say that David Benda can build off a strong performance in Ames and play well again for Texas.
Yeah,
tonight.
I think he can too. I think against the run especially because to me he's kind of a liability in the passing game. He's a big thumper. I mean, he's in the way when it comes to, stuffing the run. And I think he's gotten even better from sideline to sideline. I think he's played well as that kind of that inside linebacker. But when he gets out there in space, guys, I still don't like it. He's going to be in space because there are going to be some crossers coming tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe one will accidentally run into him because he's huge.
Well,
he's a big dude.
They'll call targeting or something on Ben.
Oh, I hope not. But if it has to be where he has to step in front of one of these crossers, do so.
Yeah. Our defensive player of the game predictions are brought to you by our friends at Kenfield Golf Cars. If you're in the market for a newer pre-owned golf cart, maybe a good holiday gift for the fam, you got to go see our friends at Kenfield Golf Cars. They've been around since 1979. They've got an unparalleled selection of different golf carts, both new and used, and they want to turn your golf cart ideas into reality. No job too big, no job too small for their team. Whether you already have a golf cart and you want to upgrade it a little bit, or if you were looking for a new or pre-owned golf cart to buy, nobody does it better than our friends at Kenfield Golf Cars. Check out their website, kenfieldgolfcars.com, or give them a call, 512-258-8515.
Trey, I'd like to ask you a question. In the beginning of the season, we said that Sark had to win 2 games for this football team. Did you count last week as one? Because there's no doubt about what he did at Alabama. I mean, I thought the players played. They executed everything that he wanted. Did you think that would you count that as last week's win, as that second?
I don't know if I did or not. He definitely gets credit for Alabama. I don't think we have number 2 just yet.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
You think we get it tonight?
No, I don't think we need it tonight. We may get it in the Big 12 championship
There you
game
go.
or whatever
That's
that bowl
interesting.
game is, whether it's a college football playoff game or a New Year's Six bowl.
I kind of thought it was last week, actually.
Yeah.
What
did.
made you think that it was that last
I
week?
mean, I thought he made some fantastic, calls for the quarterback, actually, and I his faith in the run game I thought was fantastic last week with both runners. When Blue got in the game, he still ran the ball inside the tackles. He wasn't afraid. I thought that they would use Blue as just the guy just to primarily get outside, period.
Yeah, that's why you didn't see Blue more in the game at a certain point,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. In between the tackles,
Yeah.
no thanks.
Yeah.
I thought Sark was magnificent in the second half last week. And you go back to the first half, and Quinn Ewers was sacked, I think, 4 times in the first half. And a lot of those were his fault. He was just holding on to the ball
Boy, did
too
he
long.
hold on to it long.
He
Yeah.
was struggling going through his progressions, which is not something we've seen from Quinn Ewers a lot over the course of his Texas career. But he was just going through his reads. He couldn't find somebody. He would just hold it for too long, and he took some bad sacks that were just kind of uncharacteristic by him. You look at the touchdowns that Texas scored in the second half. Jordan Whittington, wide open, great play design, perfect execution. Gunnar Helm, wide open, great play design, perfect execution. Like Sark took the complexity out of playing quarterback out of Quinn Ewers in the second
His
half.
timing was
By
fantastic.
scheming guys open like that. We want to see that every single week
Sure.
from Steve Sarkisian. I thought in the second half last week he was in his bag. I honestly thought he called a great game throughout. Texas looked snake bitten in the first half, 2 touchdowns off the board. Xavier Worthy had that fumble in the red zone. Quinn Ewers clearly wasn't himself. But I think Sark realized that, all right, maybe Quinn, whether it's injury related or not, he just doesn't quite have his reads going the right way. Let me just do something to get these guys open by scheme. And I thought there were more guys open last week for Texas than there were in any game since Alabama. And Trey, in the Alabama game, it was like, that's what Sark was doing when he was at Alabama. It's like, how the hell is Devontae Smith wide open? How is Jaden Waddle so wide open? These guys are so good. How can they get schemed open and people just don't see them and there's nobody
Yeah,
within
how can you
20
not
yards
cover
of them?
those guys?
Yeah, we saw that in Tuscaloosa, and I think we saw a good amount of that in the second half last week too.
I understand y'all's rationale, but
Sure.
I have a hard time giving a coach too much credit against mediocre to bad competition. And in the end, Iowa
Ooh.
State is not a great football
It's
team.
the number
so-
one total defense in the conference.
Yeah, but look at the scrubs that they played up to that point
Yeah.
too. Though I know the advanced metrics account for the fact that the offense is shitty, but Iowa State is not that great. And so Texas took care of business like they needed to. Did Sark call a good game offensively? Absolutely. But I don't think that's a game he gets credit for winning for this football team. That has to happen against better competition. It's why there's guys out there that are good coaches, that are 10-win coaches most years, the Brian Kellys of the world,
Sure.
right? Or the James Franklins of the world, that when they go against other really good competition with good coaching, you often see their teams
So he
falter
needs to
in the
do that for
process.
in a championship type of game.
He needs to do that, yeah, when the stakes are a little bit higher. And that's not to say that these games haven't meant a little bit more in late November for the first time in a while for this football program. We're happy about that.
But they are a talented football team.
Competition has been subpar. So, yeah, let's see it. Let's see it tonight again. I mean, but let's see it against Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship or whatever the next game after that Big 12 championship game turns out to be.
Yeah, so you're saying when Texas beats Georgia in the college football playoff, that's
Now
going
you're talking.
to be the second game that Sark wins.
I mean, you're reading my mind.
We've
It's like we've
worked
been doing
together.
a show for a
I was
while.
going to say we worked together for a long time, so this
Reading
checks
your
out
mind
here.
is not that hard.
Oh, better man and boss in the building. Oh, look at him! Y'all remember him from the OU game?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Showing
yeah.
up with the Longhorn speaker, the giant foam finger,
That's right.
the huge hat with the Longhorn sticking out. I think those are real horns too.
Wasn't there a baby head too or something?
Oh yeah, where's the baby head? That was a crying
Biggest-
Dylan Gabriel.
That's right.
Who unfortunately left us crying leaving the state fair after that game a few months
yeah.
ago. Started to bring down the mood just like that. We're having fun here at Crown and Anchor. It's a gorgeous night. If you're going to the game, stop by here on your way to DKR, grab a couple of beers, and then head to the stadium. If you're not going to the game and you're looking for a place to watch, they've got plenty of TVs here. I think I'm actually going to stick around and watch the first half of this game at Crown and Anchor tonight. This is the place to be all year round, but especially on game day. And come here and see us right in North Campus tonight.
You want me to let you guys get back to your normal routine?
No, I want you to hear one thing from Joey McGuire. I want to
Okay.
get your thoughts on this because
All right.
you're a petty guy.
Yes.
And you also like to read people and judge people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
all of the above.
I'm a
all
good
of the
judge of
above.
character.
So
And a good judge of a character.
I thought this was interesting. This is not Jerry McGuire, Joey McGuire, not Tom Cruise.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. This was from Joey McGuire's press conference on Monday, and he brought this up on his own. And I wonder if there was some sort of ulterior motive to this. I've seen some Texas fans talk about this, but I wouldn't cut up the audio. Here's Joey McGuire saying that he's reached out to Steve Sarkisian a couple of different times during the season.
After the Bama game and the win, I sent Sark a text, and said congratulations. I think it was really big for the state. And then I sent him a text after the K-State win, and congratulating him. And the reason I did on both of those is I think that were huge culture wins. Whenever you can go into Alabama and beat them, and then you can turn around and go into overtime against a K-State team that I have a lot of respect for, that's extremely tough, and beat them, then you definitely can see that he's doing something that some guys before him, weren't able to do. It's nothing against them, but he's doing a great job culturally. And so, hats off to him. But, man, I'm fired up about going into Austin and playing the number 7 team in the nation and seeing what happens.
All right, so that was Joey McGuire. Do we put anything into that? I've got a theory, but I want to get y'all's thoughts on McGuire admitting that he's texted Steve Sarkisian a couple of different times this year.
Well, I believe he understands what trying to build a culture is all about. I think he feels genuinely feels good about how Sark has done it and what he's done to get that way. What didn't happen overnight because it was Texas. It's taken 3 years to get to that point, and I think he understands that his program could take 3 years, could take 4 years, could take Texas getting the hell out of this conference where he can start, everything can start running through Lubbock a little bit more. And I think he understands how hard it is to build a program and build the culture. And I think he genuinely respects Sarkisian and what he's done over the last couple of years and how he's done it.
I agree with that. And I also know Joey McGuire to be, gosh, I almost said Jerry. Joey McGuire to be a relationships guy too.
Sure.
And so he's somebody who has positive interactions with a lot of different people. So I think his reaching out to Steve Sarkisian was genuine. I think that's a big reason why some people, myself included, felt like he had the potential to be a really good hire for Texas Tech, is because he has so many great relationships across the state. So I don't think that there's anything. What was the theory? Maliciousness? What was going on here? What were some
BK
Texas
think there's a
fans?
little tricky something in there.
Yeah, I wouldn't say
Reverse psychology?
I wouldn't say it's malicious, but I think it's a little reverse psychology. So
Ah.
let's go back in time to September 9th. That's when Texas went on the road and beat Alabama by 10.
So remember September 9th, not September 11th.
Remember, yes, in the Ides of March.
Okay.
I don't know what that is. That's from some textbook I was supposed to read a long time ago.
Caesar and Mark Antony.
Yeah.
Yeah, Caesar, the guy with the palace in Vegas.
Exactly.
I believe
Yeah.
that's him.
And the salad.
And the salad. Yeah,
forget that.
overrated salad. My God.
Oh, gosh. Take that back.
Okay.
Say that on behalf of my daughter.
Overrated. Sorry about that, baby. September 9th, what happened to Texas Tech? Well, they lost to Oregon to fall to 0-2 on the season. And they had already lost to Wyoming on the road because the Big 12 runs through Laramie. Let's not forget that.
Yeah, let's not forget that. That's for sure.
And then they lost to Oregon at home. And part of me is like, those two texts, one of them was early in the year, one of them was kind of late in the year. It was like, hey, Sark, maybe don't worry about Texas Tech. Maybe you can overlook us a little bit. Like, we're just an average team. You guys are awesome this year. Maybe this was just a little, hey, you don't need to spend that much time thinking about little old Texas Tech. You've already got these great wins over Alabama and Kansas State. Don't be thinking about us and what we're doing. Don't spend any extra time. And I think part of the reason why my theory could make some sense is because of what Joey McGuire said in the locker room after the game last year, where he's like, I knew those guys were going to quit. I told y'all at halftime those guys were going to bow down. They were going to give up, and we were going to keep punching them, and we were going to find a way to win, and everything runs through Lubbock. Like, if Sark's smart, he's been playing that all week long as bulletin board material. I wonder if McGuire had like an ulterior motive when he sent those texts like, hey, let's maybe forget about the things that I said last year and all of that, and water under the bridge at this point, right, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, it could
right?
be. It could be part of that, but I don't think so. I just think he's, this is a guy who can just lean on his team and show them the film from last year and say, hey, I don't know if they're much better than what we saw last year, but that was a pretty good team we beat last year up in Lubbock. So we just need to go down there and play the kind of game that we played last year. But every coach is going to use the whole Texas. Just keep punching at him, because eventually
nobody else has said that they've texted Steve Sarkisian to congratulate him after wins, though.
No.
Was that unsolicited? Was he asked a question about that?
No,
Has anybody else been asked about
reaching
reaching out to Steve Sarkisian during the season? Here's the thing, BK.
No.
Do I agree with your theory? No. But
thank you.
Much like with The Last Dance, the story of Michael Jordan basically making shit up in his own head for motivation to stay locked in against that opponent. I hope the Texas football team believes your nonsense right now about Joey McGuire and his ulterior motives, because I want them to be as motivated as possible, whether that's looping the post-game speech in from last year or Brett Yormark's comments in the preseason. Find anything and everything that you need beyond the fact that if you win this game, you make it to that Big 12 championship game to keep you locked in and pissed off against this opponent. And hopefully when it's all said and done, that lends itself to a 3-4 touchdown victory.
There we go. Score prediction before we let you go.
Score prediction. What did I text a little bit earlier?
41-10.
There we go. 41-10. There you go.
Sticking with it.
So, 31-point victory. I think it's cruise control. I don't know if we see Arch Manning for the first time tonight. We probably see Malik Murphy at least one more time. And, the Texas football team is able to cruise into the locker room with that Big 12 championship game appearance under their belts.
That would be so nice.
That would be so nice.
I'd take that.
We got to see Coach Yormark on the field somewhere. He's got to be on the field. He's got to come down from the booth, come onto the field.
I'm guessing he is in pregame, but during the game, he's going to be up in a suite. He's probably going to be up in CDC suite or something.
If Texas Tech wins, he's going to rush the field, even though the game's in Austin. He's going to rush the field and celebrate. The visiting president suite in the press box.
Does that surprise you?
So he's hanging out with the Texas Tech University.
Are you making that up,
president?
or is that serious? That's really where he is? Wow.
Got a source.
We have sources.
Well, he is. Wait, of course, he's in the Texas Tech president's suite because he is the president of Texas Tech University.
Or at least the fan club he is.
He's in charge of that school.
Yeah, he's the president / athletics director.
Yes, both of them. All right, brother. Thank you for coming on.
Good stuff, boys.
Enjoy the game with your family.
Will do.
Bye, Vivi.
There he goes. There goes Trey Elling III. See you later, Vivi. Great seeing you. And 41-10. I wouldn't mind that at all. Huh?
I wouldn't mind that at all either.
What do they say?
Burger.
Good teams win, great teams cover?
Absolutely. Just like last week.
And great teams cover by more than 2 touchdowns above the line?
Great teams cover, and don't make me worry about a thing.
Yeah, that would be nice for the Longhorns tonight. All right, let's take a look at the YouTube comment line brought to you by our friends at Clean Cause, Buck. We'll give them some love here in a second.
Love them.
A lot of people freaking out about Kevin Marr being the official tonight. We've got some Sand Aggie comments. People,
of course,
bashing on Texas Tech. I'm going to miss this game, by the way. Like I
you
feel
like this game. You really do.
I'm one of the few Longhorn fans that doesn't want to see this game go away. I think most Texas fans are like, to hell with Texas Tech. We're moving on to the SEC, a bigger and better conference. We don't need to deal with little old Texas Tech again. We've got A&M back, this and that. But I like this game, man. Like, there's clearly some bad blood between these two teams. Tech fans travel well whenever they play in Austin.
They should always come here
for any sport. They show up and they show out. Texas fans obviously make their way to Lubbock whenever the Longhorns are playing up there. I think in-state rivalries are big and important for this state, and I would love for this game to continue. And I kind of am sad that this is the last time.
Putting it on a loop. Put that one on a loop with Baylor and TCU. How about that?
Every third year?
Every third year. Just put that one on a loop. I don't want to see it every year.
Okay. All right. Well, last ever game.
You want to give some state love? Give all three of them some
sure.
love.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Because we'd always pound Baylor in the face.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. That would be nice. How about our Bryles is gone because they had our number.
Oh, yes, they did.
All right. What about our friends at Clean Cause, Buck?
Love Clean Cause. They give back 50% of the profits to support individuals in recovery from drug and alcohol addiction. Half of their profits do that somewhere in the Austin area and a lot of places around Central Texas. So that's why I love Clean Cause. And they've got that cherry lime and orange ginger that'll get your day going. 160 milligrams of better caffeine that won't cause crashes or jitters. You know, we don't like to be jittery.
No.
We want to feel good. My wife loves that Clean Cause drink. And I understand why. As I said, 50% of their profits go right back to alcohol and drug rehab. Love those folks at Clean Cause.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, how about a scoreboard update? Even though it's Friday, we've got plenty of
games,
college football going on.
Hey, we got
right
an
now.
NFL game too, don't we?
You know,
don't we have an NFL game?
I've never been so happy to be working in my entire life because working right now means I don't have to watch the Jets play football.
Why do they keep putting them on
TV? Can we stop putting the Jets in prime time, please? Like, as soon as Aaron Rodgers got hurt on the first drive of the game, we should have removed the Jets from every primetime slot.
Absolutely.
That they were in. I mean, it feels like every single week we're having to watch them play, and they get their ass kicked every single week, and that's happening today.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, they're down 34-13 against Miami, who's obviously a good football team, but, about 3.5 minutes left. The Dolphins all over the Jets. Miami going to improve to 8-3. The Jets about to fall to 4.
You like to play the Jets every week? Wow.
Dude, I'd pick the Longhorns to beat the Jets.
I would too.
I'd pick Lake Travis to beat the Jets, I think. That's how bad they are right now, dude. Oh, my God. All right, some college games. Oklahoma already played, and they played pretty well all over TCU earlier today. How about a very nice 69-45?
Somebody quit.
In Norman. Yeah, high-scoring affair there. Oklahoma had 42 at halftime in that one, and the Sooners cruised to a 24-point victory over TCU. What does that mean for Texas? Well, Oklahoma is hoping for some help because right now Oklahoma State is in the driver's seat for that other spot in the conference championship game. If Texas wins tonight, we already know the Longhorns will be in.
Yes.
If Oklahoma State beats BYU in Stillwater tomorrow, Oklahoma State will also be in. A lot of Texas fans are hoping for a Texas OU Part 2 because of what happened in Dallas a couple of months ago. The only way we get that is if Texas wins tonight, obviously, but Oklahoma State would have to lose to BYU. If that happens, we'll get the Longhorns and the Sooners one more time.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. I mean, we saw a little bit of letdown from Oklahoma State a couple of weeks ago. I don't think we see it at home for this one because this is for the big prize for them.
Of course, BYU with the Jewish guy at quarterback. We see that from them all the time.
No, not ever. He's the first ever.
He's the first ever.
Yes.
Yeah, Oklahoma State a 17-point favorite. I will say BYU played pretty well against Oklahoma last week.
That was at home.
They nearly pulled off the upset, but yeah, that was at home. OSU a 17-point favorite. So Texas and Oklahoma State, those are the two teams that control their own destiny to get to Arlington next weekend, but Oklahoma kept their hopes alive by taking care of business today. What else do we have? Games going on right now. Number 9, Missouri. Missouri's ranked in the top 10.
Oh, yeah.
They're beating Arkansas 20-0 at halftime. And Tulane over UTSA 23-10. And also, I'd like to congratulate myself for taking the under on Iowa, Nebraska.
Of course.
The lowest Vegas total in college football history. The total was 24.5. Iowa 13, Nebraska 10. Life is too short to bet the over
That's
on
the
Iowa
other
football.
half of your Big Ten championship game next week.
Yeah, Iowa
really?
will play the winner of Ohio State and Michigan, which is
and lose by 20.
Yeah, if they're lucky.
Yeah,
I think it'll be 30 or 40. So there is your scoreboard update. Of course, we're okay right now. Plenty of games tomorrow across the Big 12, but we'll talk about some of those a little bit later as I try to find our scoreboard update. Oh yeah, Moonshine Patio Bar and Grill.
Love those folks.
Got to give them
that.
some love. Yep. If you're looking for a great meal tonight, tomorrow night, Sunday night, or just a great spot to get brunch tomorrow morning or Sunday morning, go see our friends at Moonshine Patio Bar and Grill, celebrating 20 years.
I love it. You know, Mom and Dad are in town for Saturday and Sunday. Why not hit them up for Saturday morning brunch and Sunday when they leave town? Empty the wallet.
Yep.
Empty the pocketbook.
They're paying for it anyways.
That's right.
Yeah, the parents are in town. They're paying for your meals.
Pay for 2 nights.
Yeah, if you're a student at UT, go out there, enjoy a couple of nice meals.
Oh yeah, have dinner Saturday night and then brunch on Sunday on the way out of town.
That's nicer.
Thanks,
than
Mom and Dad.
Nicer than what you're getting at Orange Market in West Campus. I can tell you that. Or Royal Blue Grocery, wherever the hell the kids are going these days. I'm old, man. I don't remember that stuff anymore. All right, back to let's get to the Yormark element of this thing. We haven't talked about this yet. We did mention that Brett Yormark will be in the building tonight at DKR Texas Memorial Stadium. I think every Longhorn fan has seen / heard these comments at some point, but we'll take you back to the offseason. Brett Yormark speaking to the Red Raider Club in Lubbock, and he said these comments.
Candidly, we were able to get Texas and Oklahoma out a year early. That was a big deal for us, and I think all of you, okay? And, Coach, I'm not going to put any pressure on you, but I'm going to be in Austin for Thanksgiving, okay? And you better take care of business like you did right here in Lubbock last year.
So those were the comments.
What a shameful guy. What a shameful executive. You know what I mean?
Yep.
How about fairness to the players and the people that actually play the game there? Yormark.
There's your unbiased conference commissioner being extremely biased right there.
Wow.
You can grab a koozie if you would like. Guy just picked one up and put it down. That's insulting, sir. That is insulting.
Come back and get that koozie.
We gifted you a free koozie. Now it feels like pity. So now I don't even know if I want you to have
take
one.
two. Now I want you to take two.
My
Since you did it. There you go.
I mean, there you go. He even
Thank
knows
you.
who you are, and he didn't take the koozie at first. But he came back and took a couple. When your beer's cold at the game tonight, you can thank us.
There you go.
We love you. Hook 'em
Yeah,
horns.
I don't know. That was just, how many executives do that in their businesses? Do the deal that he just did? Aren't we looking for at least a little fair play? That guy's just telling you, no, I really don't care about fair play.
Right.
I want to screw University of Texas and the University, their little pal, Oklahoma, as much as I possibly can. He just told us
He told
before
you.
the season even started.
Indeed. And here's Steve Sarkisian. So Sark at his press conference this week was asked about Brett Yormark's comments and kind of his response to what Yormark had to say there.
Well, there was nothing to smooth over. He for me, we've been on this kick here for months now. This whole situation, us leaving the Big 12, our players didn't choose to leave the Big 12, right? They came to play for the University of Texas. What conference we're in, that's not what our players. They're just choosing to put on the burnt orange and white and run out of the tunnel. And so whether the commissioner's rooting against our players to win or not, or we're in the SEC or we're in the Big 12, at the end of the day, our guys just want to play good football and they want to win. And so we've tried to consume ourselves with what we need to do. As you guys have heard me say, we need to be enamored with us, and that's something that we've done. And that's been our focus. And I think that's why our players have been so poised and so composed, even on the road, as we go on the road and the success we've had there, says we haven't gotten caught up in what's going on outside. We've really tried to quiet the noise. We've really tried to stay focused on one another and how we can continue to support one another. And so, for the commissioner, we've had plenty of conversations, and he is coming. I got a chance to see him. He was in Ames Saturday night. He'll be here Friday. And I'm hopefully we put on a heck of a show for him. That's what I want. He's a commissioner of our conference, and I'm hopeful that when he watches us play, he's proud of the way that we play and representing the Big 12, because that's the conference we're in right now.
That's such a nice guy talk. That's just such a nice guy.
Took the high road, didn't he?
He did. He took the high road. He's a nice guy. But that other guy's a piece of crap. And he is a huge piece of crap. And for him to say that, because, the things that he said make things unfair for the players themselves. And, they can be playing as well as they want, but that guy's trying to take something away from the University of Texas. And he's letting you know that he will, if he has any opportunities to do so. And that means whether he has to talk to the officials, anything he can do to screw up the deal for the University of Texas and University of Oklahoma, he will do.
Yeah.
He'll let you know that.
Yeah, it's been a storyline since before the season even started, right? And then you look at the Big 12 stats and you see that the team with the fewest opponent penalty yards this year is Texas. And it's just like, oh, well, it's easy to think that the fix is in. We saw some of this last year. We're seeing some of it this year. Just feels like, the Big 12 is doing what it can to screw Texas on the way out the door, because that's the last thing they want, right? The Big 12 wants to prove to the world that they're going to be okay without Texas and Oklahoma, right? A lot of people out there, especially before the Big 12 was able to add those schools from the Pac-12, but even now that Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah are coming, a lot of people are like, okay, the Big 12 is just not going to be the same. It's not going to be on the level of the SEC or the Big Ten or the ACC. It's not even really a power conference anymore. They are trying to prove that, no, we're going to be okay without Texas and Oklahoma. So you understand kind of why that's their logic. They would hate it more than anything if they had to hand Texas this conference trophy on the way out the door.
Or they would hate it an awful lot. But in all fairness to players, families, universities. I mean, just in football and the fairness all around. You can't do that. You can't come out as the head of a conference and say what he said in the beginning of the season. Hey, I will be there the day after Thanksgiving and do what you did to them last year.
Yeah.
Are you? I mean, no, you're Mark. You're going to do what you did. Do what you do, and whatever you can do to screw Texas. That's what you're going to be about.
Yep. That's what's.
I mean, that's what you're saying. I mean, you might as well just say that.
Yeah. So that's the storyline that Texas fans have talked about a lot. If I'm Steve Sarkisian, once again, I'm playing those comments and I'm playing what Joey McGuire had to say after the loss in Lubbock last year. As I think Texas clearly used what Jared Hufford said before the Iowa State game as bulletin board material.
There was no doubt, but the players got involved in that one.
Yeah.
But this is one of those ones where, just play your game.
Yeah.
The officiating is going to be it. You've got a bad crew tonight, period.
Yep.
So it didn't matter who you were playing tonight. They were going to stink anyway because they stink all year in every game. So it doesn't matter if it's Texas playing or anybody else playing. That group is not very good. So that's simply they're going to make enough mistakes themselves. But you don't need the added attention of your commissioner going down to the referee's locker room and saying, hey, remember who's playing again tonight. Remember, they won't be here next year, and you'll still be getting a paycheck from us,
Yeah, he'll be doing the Buffalo Wild Wings thing.
Oh, yeah.
Pushing the button to try to make some madness happen tonight. That's going to go down. We'll take your thoughts on the Coda text line, 512-222-9328, or you can hit us up on the Clean Cause YouTube comment line. We'll be here until 6 o'clock, getting you set for Texas and Texas Tech.
And like I say, BK, I don't feel bad for coaches. I feel bad for the players if somebody were to do that, who had that kind of power that could actually screw you like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that bothers me, that the same players that we talk about and how hard they've worked get certain things taken away because some guy's got a vendetta against the entire university. That just doesn't make any sense to me. And it really doesn't make any sense for a guy to actually say it.
Right. Well, Texas has taken care of business to this point. They are in first place in the Big 12, and they control their own destiny to get to the conference championship. And obviously, the only team that Texas has lost to this year is the team that's going with them to the SEC.
Right.
So even in some of these games where it's felt like, all right, the officiating could be shady, and it has been shady at times, the Longhorns have still been able to take care of business 10 out of 11 times.
And they should again tonight. They're more
Yep.
talented. They've got, they've got a heck of a defense. They've got the ability to score a lot of points if need be. They've got enough, they can score enough points to overtake this team just because of ability alone. And this coach understands what's going on. Behind closed doors, believe me, he's talking to his staff about what the commissioner has said. I mean, that was last year. He's been talking to them about that all week long, all summer long. We're not going to forget what was said.
If you think this is just Texas fans making a lot to do about nothing, I just opened up the ESPN app and clicked on this Texas Tech versus Texas game, kind of the game preview that they have. And the video on the front screen is Brett Yormark's comments from the Red Raider Club before the season. I mean, all of college football have those remarks, and they're not going to like it because no coach in football wants that to happen to their team. Yeah.
Nobody wants their team getting stiffed by some guy who is the commissioner when you're out on your way out. Sark is a nice guy. I mean, I don't know if I could be that nice. I mean, I don't think I could. I don't, I'm not that diplomatic when it comes to my players. I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
I would have lost my mind last year. He would have received an official letter from me, saying that and telling everybody throughout the entire league, get ready every week because, they're going to, the commissioner doesn't care. The commissioner doesn't care about fair play. He's not about fair play.
I just hope they put him on the Jumbotron at some point
please.
during the game tonight. And I can only imagine what the reaction's going to be from the 100,000 strong.
Oh, the fans here will be nuts tonight.
Yeah.
This will be a raucous crowd.
Yep.
We always talk about a fan base that kind of sits on their hands and, when they told us sit down, they'll sit down. I don't think that's happening tonight. I think this fan base will be out of this world nuts. I just really do.
I think so too. All right, back to this game and this matchup itself. Texas has only gotten to 40 points one time this season, and they scored exactly 40 in the win over Kansas early in conference play back in September. Is this the second time this season where the Longhorns can put up 40 plus?
Yeah, I believe this team tonight will have at least 4 explosive plays. And one of those explosive plays, so 3 on offense, 1 on defense. I mean, explosive play for me on defense is that pick that puts you in, in scoring position. I think we'll see one of those, and maybe even the fumble that I'm talking about. But I think they'll have at least 3 BK explosive plays over the top.
Yeah,
from Quentin Ewers to Xavier Worthy or Sanders or one of these wide receivers. And there's no doubt now when I watch this young running back run, he's going to have an explosive play against this Tech defense. This Tech defense last year was pretty doggone good. They had a first rounder that went last year,
top 10,
and they still thought that this defense was still going to be pretty salty. They were really leaning on this defense this year.
Yeah.
Again, and early in the season, it just never happened.
It's been fine, right? The Tech defense is number 6 in total defense in the conference.
Middle of the pack in the conference.
They're number 6 in scoring defense. Like, they've just been okay. So,
right.
They haven't been great. They haven't been horrible. Their defensive numbers are actually better than their offensive numbers, which how many times have you been able to say that about Texas Tech?
But they pretended as if this team was not going to miss a step, losing the kid at defensive end. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Right. Yeah. Well, Texas Tech, a lot of people thought they were a dark horse to win the Big 12.
Sure.
There were some folks who thought they were a dark horse to make the college football playoff, and they're 6-5 right now.
Yeah.
And with the loss tonight, they'll be 6-6, and that's as average as you can possibly be.
No doubt.
Now they're okay defensively. They do a couple of things to really try to confuse an opposing quarterback. A lot of simulated pressures. You're going to see that tonight from Texas Tech. And look, maybe they break tendency and blitz a little bit more than they have been.
Sure.
They will show blitz all night, but more often than not, they're going to only rush 3 or 4.
Well, that's what I want.
I'd
like to see a lot of blitz. I'd like to see Quinn Ewers be able to get their wide receiver and get over the top.
Yeah.
Go ahead and show blitz, bring them. They picked up the blitz. This offensive line has done pretty well lately against a lot of pressure to the quarterback, and teams have paid for doing that to them. And I'd like to see that tonight.
Yeah.
I really would. I don't like them dropping back in coverage and getting into those middle zones where Quinn Ewers, that's like last week, trying to read, throw late, or take a sack.
Yep, and another thing that Texas Tech does a lot of defensively, they play a lot of single high safety, which could be prone to giving up the big explosive play over the top. I will say this, I wouldn't be surprised if that safety's playing in Hutto tonight, just to avoid, that big time play. I'm talking like 15 yards away from the line of scrimmage when the ball was snapped, and then he starts backpedaling right away. So,
well, they understand that's what gets the crowd going. You get an explosive play that's going to get this crowd over 100,000 going in that direction. That's not what they want.
No.
They want this to be a grinded out, very similar to how they played last year, just kind of grinded out, a big play here or there, stop the run, force Quinn Ewers into making a mistake, and them getting a boost, going for it on fourth down and happening. And they're just they want that type of game. They don't want over the top stuff happening to them, explosive plays.
Right. Yeah, and Texas Tech did just about everything right last year, right?
Yes.
They didn't turn the ball over. They forced a couple of Texas turnovers. We talked about how good they were in money downs, especially on fourth down. Like that's what, if you're Texas, you talk about the explosive plays on offense. If you can get a couple of explosive plays on defense,
sure,
you get a couple of takeaways to give your offense some short fields, and you put some quick scores on the board, that's going to be huge. I think about the turning point in the game last week in the second half, where Texas only punted one time in the second half, and Iowa State gets the ball back. I think it was a 9-point game at the time, and on the very first play, Jaron Thompson has an interception, and then 3 plays later, Texas scores to push the lead back up to double digits.
Yeah, anytime you get a takeaway, the Longhorns have to score tonight.
Yeah,
and just keep the pedal to the metal. Don't look back. Once you have them down, keep them down. Don't let them start that slow. Let's get going. Let's get our run game going. We'll pound on Texas. We may not be successful early in the run, but you know what? It's now the middle of the third quarter. Let's get back to Taj Brooks getting the ball. Let's see if we can find some holes in this defense, because all they need is a little momentum swing.
Right.
Don't give them any momentum swings. There'll be enough of that throughout the game, but don't give them to them in the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah, Texas has been really good in the second half of the season at creating takeaways. Last week was the first game in the second half where Texas did not create multiple turnovers. Now, they had one, and they also gave the ball away one time, so it was an even push when it came to the turnover battle. But this Longhorn defense has been opportunistic, and, they've been pretty smart with the football,
yes, they have,
with Quinn Ewers under center. So you'd like to do that again. And, look, I think for Texas – What helped this offense out so much was their ability to run. I mean, even in the first half, when the Longhorns couldn't get into the end zone and they only had 6 points, C.J. Baxter still was able to have some success on the ground. Obviously, he went for 117 yards on 20 carries. Jaden Blue had a couple of big runs as well, even though his stats weren't super incredible. That's what Texas is going to try to do. Like, they do not want Quinn Ewers to have to throw it 30 to 40 times in this game tonight. Like, they would like to be able to rely on the ground game like they did with Jonathan Brooks.
And I think that's what Texas Tech will like too. They don't want to see this kid having to get back there and throw, because if he's having success and Texas just can throw the ball all over the place, that's not good for Texas Tech.
No.
That's not good, because there's a lot of big plays to be had. if that were to happen to him. If Quinn Ewers was to get into a groove and the run game, now Sark can play off the run game a little bit. He can do screens. He can do whatever he wants with the run game too. So that they don't want that. They want to stuff the run, but if they're not successful, they would prefer to have Texas be able to run a little bit than have Quinn Ewers go big play over the top of them in this football game.
Think so?
Yes, I do. I know how people talk about how the run hurts you, but in a game like this, when you have better players, you get to go over the top on them. Because if you get one over the top, you're getting another one somewhere down the line over them, and they don't want that to happen. That's just such a momentum killer. That's slow death for them. They still feel like they can be in the game. You know what I'm saying? Some long drives, Texas gets a score. But as Texas starts to get over the top of them, and this game gets into high 30s and 40s, that's not good for Texas Tech. Remember, what are they on their fifth quarterback? I told you they'd go through at least 3 this year.
They've gone through 3.
Yes, they're back, right?
They're back to number 2.
I don't know what it is. I don't know about the program. What it is they go through quarterbacks. Like I go through underwear. I like to. When I go on my trip.
You're saying you only wear 3 pairs of underwear a year?
No.
They go through like 3 a year.
Me, it's the other way around for me. Of course, my wife says, "Why do you need 12 pair of underwears for a 3-day trip?" Because my mother told me to always have clean underwear with me.
How often are you changing?
I don't know. I change twice a day.
After showers, you just change randomly.
Sometimes randomly, I change my underwear. Yeah, I just change my underwear.
12 pairs.
That's why they have washing machines. I mean, what's the difference?
Yeah,
I'm not out there on a washboard going like this with my undies.
Right, but you 12 pairs in 3 days?
What? I mean, just
what
in case.
What are you doing? I'm not sure I want to know the answer to that.
Just in case.
Just in case what? You're going to crap yourself 11 times?
No, I don't. I don't do the laundry anyway. Remember, I'm not allowed to touch the washing machine.
Right.
Or dryer.
Your wife does that for you?
Yes. Or stove. I'm not allowed to, I
can't touch the stove?
I'm not allowed to touch the stove. No.
How old are you?
Hey, I can do the microwave. I'm allowed to touch the microwave.
That's good.
That's it.
Yeah, you've been alive for a long time. I'm glad you know how to use one of those. One of these days, hopefully we teach you how to use the washing machine.
No, can't do the washing machine.
What about the dryer?
Can't use the dryer either.
Oh, my God.
No, I can't hose down my clothes and throw them in the dryer. No, I've ruined those kind of things. And there's always change in my pocket or teas or things like that. And I take a beating for doing that. No, I'm not allowed to use the washing machine, the dryer, or the stove.
That is incredible.
I can use the microwave.
There's a lot of guys out there who are really jealous, I think, to hear this, actually.
Are they? Because they don't want to.
I just think you're an idiot because you don't know how to use that stuff. But a lot of guys are like, oh, man, I wish my wife would do all that stuff for me all the time. That sounds incredible. That sounds incredible. All right. You know what else I really liked about Texas last week that I don't think Longhorn fans have given enough love to? I thought the offensive line was awesome.
They were.
Last week.
I did too. I agree with you.
CJ Baxter did some good things for sure, but man, this offensive line opened up a lot of holes last week.
He was able to get outside last week too. I thought it was going to be mostly for him running between the tackles. I saw him bounce outside because the tackles are doing such a good job.
Yeah.
And as I said, I thought Sanders last week was one of the best games or the best game that I've ever seen him block as a tight end. As a part of the run game.
Yeah, I did too. I thought Jordan Whittington also had a great day blocking on the outside.
Yeah, he was into it.
Yeah.
Gunnar Helm, those guys play really, really well at tight end for the run game.
Yeah.
Not just in the passing game, but they got down there. They were interested from the beginning, and as I said, you don't see JT Sanders. You don't see him do that a lot. When he doesn't get the ball early, he's just kind of an okay blocker. He just kind of gets in the way with that big body of his because he's so athletic. But he was on guys. I mean, he was on them down the field last weekend.
Yep.
But if they can get that going again this week, which I expected was. I mean, I would. If I'm the tight ends coach, I would be showing him that film and saying, "Dude, this could be you every week. This is what." Well, I'm getting ready to say this. They're going to expect that from you in the pros, but they're not. They're going to expect you to catch passes in the pros.
That matters more.
That'll matter more then. But for us, I mean, he'd got to be happy by the way he played as a tight end run blocker last week. I thought.
Yeah, and if you're going to run outside, you need your tight ends and you need your wide receivers.
No holding penalties on him.
Well.
I thought he did well.
Yeah, I thought Sanders blocked well. Jordan Whittington always blocks well, but I thought
Sure.
he was really good and instrumental to the Texas ground game. But yeah, I thought the offensive lineman up front did a really, really good job. You know, DJ Campbell got hurt in the middle of that game last week, and he's known for being kind of an enforcing run blocker.
Mhm.
And Cole Hudson came in and I thought did a great job too in his stead. I mean, there was no drop off at all when Cole Hudson came into the game. I thought he did a great job too, creating some holes for CJ Baxter. So,
Yeah, and CJ Baxter showed us a lot last week because he was a creator himself. He set up blocks and he set up defenders last week too.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about how he crashes when he hits guys, he crashes into them. And I said, you know, in another year, those crashes, those defensive backs are going to pay for trying to tackle that big son of a gun.
Yep.
But I mean, he made guys miss. He set up guys to give him the dead leg, and those guys end up trying to grab him by the legs and him dragging him around for a couple yards. And I think as he continues to mature as a runner, I think you're going to see a lot of that. But I really would love to see him continue the way he played last week, and that's making guys pay for tackling that big body, that 225.
No, he's not 225. Although after Thanksgiving, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that's right.
I don't know how many
Can we give him 220? Can we give him 220 now, though, maybe?
Yeah.
After Thanksgiving?
Listed at 218. Maybe he gained a couple of pounds yesterday.
Well, he punished some guys last week, and he also made some guys miss, which I didn't know if he had that ability to do that. I know his open, when he's in the open, what kind of speed he has, very similar to Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah.
Once they get loose, you can't catch him on a dead-out run. But I saw him do things last week where he made guys miss. I mean, he gave him the leg, he took it away, and the guys that ended up hitting him, in the waist area, they were going for a ride with him.
Yes, they were.
And that's going to be great to see his progression as a running back. And last week had to bring him a lot of confidence, knowing that he was the real true starter last week. Because I got to believe in his mind, he may have thought he was good in the beginning when the coaches thought he was good.
Yeah.
But he was still a young running back that needed some experience. And I think this point of the season, he's as good as anybody in the country getting the ball. I mean, there's a few great backs out there right now, but there's not a whole S load of them.
He's not as good as anybody in the country right now.
I mean, he's as good as a guy should be this part of his career in the country that's running with the football.
Okay.
That's had as many carries as he's had.
Okay.
He's not. I mean, he's not like the kid. He's not Ali. He's not like the kid at Oklahoma State. He's not even like the kid at TCU.
Nah,
but those are guys that have been playing this position for a while. But at this time of his freshman year, he can run with the best of them right now.
Let's hear from Steve Sarkisian. This comes from his press conference on Monday. He was asked about C.J. Baxter and Jaden Blue and how they performed in the game last week against Iowa State.
I thought C.J. got stronger as the game went on. He had some really nice runs in the second half of that game, some physical runs. I think it's pretty safe to say, Iowa State's a really physical defense. They're an excellent defense. And there's hard yards in there, and they're physical in the secondary when they tackle. And I thought C.J. did that and got stronger as the game went on. So that's really encouraging for us, knowing kind of what's in store for us as we move forward. But I'd also say I think some of that is a credit to the coaches of making the right adjustments and calling the right stuff that I think puts our players in a really good position too, and the players understand why we're calling what we're calling there. But again, I'm very impressed by CJ. I was really impressed by Jaden Blue. I know he didn't have some of the wow plays that maybe we were all kind of hoping, but the fact that he's in there on 4th and 1 at the end of the game to get that first down, I think speaks volumes to the development and the growth that he has as a player and how far he's come, where he was just kind of the highlight reel perimeter guy. It's all of a sudden he's running between the tackles on 4th and 1 to get a first down to seal the victory. So that was definitely encouraging as well.
Yeah, he's a lot better. I mean, I thought he was good last year between the tackles, Blue. I like the way he runs between the tackles. As I said, he runs with a lot of velocity. He's got great body lean, and he's a little guy, though, so he's a little bit smaller. So he better have good body lean going up in there against guys like that against Iowa State. But the thing about Baxter, I thought last week, was the fact that he absolutely made guys miss him, and there are times when you see C.J. Baxter semi in the open field, BK, and there's one guy that will make a tackle on him. He doesn't shake him like Jonathan Brooks shakes guys. I mean, he makes them where they don't put or they don't even get a glove on him. C.J. Baxter, a guy will get an arm on him, and that frustrates you sometimes. But as I said, as he goes along, he'll think in his mind. He'll see other running backs do stuff. He'll gather information and start saying, I got to use this. I watched Ricky Williams during the course of his career. Ricky would take before a game would start, he would watch a film of Barry Sanders, and the dude would do something that Barry Sanders would do just by taking what he saw before a game even started. He said, I will do that move. I will make that move. And he would do it. And not a lot of guys can do stuff that Ricky did. But to take that from a video, go on the field, and then try to do that move and make it work.
Yeah.
I mean, C.J. Baxter will start looking at films of other guys, not just himself, and find out, I can do this. I can make a guy clean miss.
Yeah, I think having Jonathan Brooks in that locker room with him is a big deal.
Or you see him at practice every day. Yeah.
And during sidelines, right? Jonathan Brooks, was on the sideline last week wearing like 15 different chains. Did you see that? He was wearing like all of his teammates' ice during that game. That's being a good teammate right there. But yeah, Jonathan Brooks was in the Doak Walker conversation before he went down with an injury.
There's no doubt.
So of course you watch film of some of the best running backs ever.
Sees it every day. He sees it every day.
But you could also just talk to Jonathan Brooks and watch some of the things that he did, where he was one of the most explosive runners in the country this year.
But he is a physical. And Sark, yes, Sark. He is a physical runner.
Yeah.
He's not a finesse runner. I mean, I'd like to see him make guys miss more, but that's not him. He's not a finesse. That dude is not finesse. That dude is.
He's got some power to him.
He got some power to him.
Yeah, he can.
And he will grow into even more power.
Yeah, and he's not Jonathan Brooks yet, obviously, but I thought last week was his best game as a Texas Longhorn, without question. And he showed, more of that ability to break tackles, more of that elusiveness.
And he's a willing blocker too. When you see him pass protect, if you're going to cut a guy, he has to go down. I mean, he has to. When you cut a guy, most running backs coaches don't like when linebackers blitz and you cut them and they go over the top of you into the legs of the quarterback.
Yeah.
They want you to stand up and stone them. Well, he did both last week. He had a nice cut block and the guy didn't roll over. I mean, he was cut so that he went up in the air and came right down. He didn't go into Quinn Ewers' near his feet, but he also had one where he just slid over and the guy never saw him coming and just pushed him to the side. That was great to see.
Spoken like a true running backs coach.
Hell yeah. And I love when Blue did, I mean, they worried about that guy being a liability as a pass protector.
Yeah.
He's now a football player, so he will fly up in there. He knows how to fly inside and bang around with guys and have no problem. As I said, he'll put his face in there. Now, he'll get rejected. There'll be times where he'll get rejected. Some of the real good linebackers will reject him just physically and knock him backwards, which they should.
I've been rejected before.
Sure you have.
Yeah.
Not often, but
6th Street, is that what we're talking about?
No, I'm not. I'm talking about in a game.
Oh, sorry, my mind's going in a different
direction. Of course
sorry about
it is.
that.
Yes.
I'm thinking about what I'm doing after the game.
Yeah, yes. Think about before the game or during the game.
That's
yes.
on me. That's on
yeah, but
me.
he doesn't. He's a willing blocker too, but physically he's not as big as some of the other guys. But it's not that he will duck out. I mean, I've seen guys absolutely faint when a guy came on the blitz, like pass out, like their legs just went down, wobbled down.
They act like they're hurt.
Oh, my leg.
Yeah, they went down. They didn't want to block anybody, and then they need to bring the stretcher out to help them.
He's a willing blocker.
Yeah.
I like watching both of them.
Yeah, the running back's obviously important for this game tonight. They had a great game last week against a pretty strong Iowa State defense. Texas Tech's rush defense ranked 7th in the conference this year. So we'll see what we can get from C.J. Baxter and Jaden Blue as an encore for what they did in Ames. Let's talk about the wide receivers a little bit because – look, no one is focused on next year. There's so much at stake tonight, and there's so much at stake for the rest of 2023. But it is senior night after all. And even though these guys could come back for another year, odds are Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell are gone. And this is their last game here in Austin. It'd be nice for both of those guys. And you could throw Jatavion Sanders in there, obviously a tight end, but he's another guy who could leave early for the NFL. It'd be awesome to see those guys put on a show for this Austin crowd one final time.
You know what? Watching A.D. Mitchell play is just, I mean, it's like watching a professional. You know what I mean? A guy who does everything the right way. He doesn't have great speed, but he's got speed enough to get open. But you can trust that he's going to make the catch no matter where the catch is. If the ball's low, and when people say, well, he touched it, he should get it. Well, that's not always true about balls. Low balls out in front of you, those are hard to catch because – they're just hard to catch. Or a high ball that's way over you, just because it touched your hand doesn't mean you have to make the grab. But this kid seems to come up with all of the above. The high ball, the ball that's outside when you're going in one direction and the ball is behind him, he seems to reach back with his hands and make that catch. They don't go right through his hands like others would. I enjoy watching him. I think he looks, I'm not going to say he looks more of a pro than certain people. I'm not saying he's better than certain, but he looks like a professional wide receiver
he
to
is.
me.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've seen a couple of mock drafts that have A.D. Mitchell going in the first round, right? Like there's a chance Texas has 2 receivers taken in the first round in April's NFL
He reminds
draft.
me an awful lot of the guy that plays for San Francisco, their third guy or their second wide receiver. Ayuk. He reminds me more of like of an Ayuk type of guy.
Okay.
Very dependable, going to run really, really good routes. And if you doubt his speed when he goes by you, when you just see the back of his jersey as he goes into the end zone.
Yeah.
And he loves the end zone. I mean, this guy likes catching touchdown passes.
I think he's got 9 this year, and he almost had a 10th last week, but it was called back by that Kelvin Banks holding penalty. But it'd be cool to get A.D. Mitchell into the end zone so he can get double-digit touchdowns. And that guy's been a godsend.
He has.
The transfer
really
portal
has.
has helped Texas a lot. It's helped a bunch of different schools out, but it's clearly helped the Longhorns out in recent years. But Adonai Mitchell has been one of the best transfer portal acquisitions that Texas has picked up. And last year, it just felt like this offense at times would be too reliant on Xavier Worthy.
Sure.
They would just try to force feed X. And you understand it. X is a hell of a player, but you didn't have those second, third, fourth options that it feels like Texas has this year.
They've got all the options now.
They've got two number one receivers. Like Adonai Mitchell, I mean, hell, he was a starter for Georgia, a team that's won back-to-back national championships. Like, that tells you right there how good he is. But he would be the number one guy on like 90% of the teams in college football, if not more than that.
Yeah, and most college football teams would have Jordan Whittington catching no less than 6 balls a game. There would be no games where the dude would catch a ball in a game.
Well, Whittington might be the number one on a lot of teams around college football. Like he's. I'm with you. We've talked about it a lot. I want Whittington to be more of an emphasis on this offense, more of a focal point for this offense, maybe a better way to say it. But it's tough. I mean, Stark talks about it whenever he gets asked about the question, like, why is this guy not getting the ball? Well, it's because we have this guy, and that guy. So, yeah, I mean, X and Worthy and Sanders, those guys have been getting theirs. And, Quinn Ewers
and as I've said all year long with you, that the fact that A.D. Mitchell is running a lot of routes that tight ends would run in that part of the field and making those grabs. I mean, Quinn Ewers just loves throwing the football to him. He does. He just feels very confident that the ball will be caught wherever he throws it. He can throw off of his back foot and the ball low, and A.D. Mitchell will make that grab, or he can throw it behind him a little bit, and A.D. will make the grab.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's as sure as with some other guys about those type of throws when he does it, but I'm pretty sure you can see the relationship he has with A.D. Mitchell. I mean, it's grown throughout the season. It really has.
Absolutely. He's been a godsend for this Texas football team, and I'm trying to pull up a picture to show you, Buck. It is senior night, and one of the guys celebrating senior night tonight is the kicker, Sideshow Bert Auburn. And
he's your favorite. He's become one of your favorites because he's so consistent.
I think he's become one of every Texas fan's favorites.
Heck yeah, man. Automatic.
He's made 14 straight field goals, right? Had some struggles early in the season, but since that Oklahoma game, this dude has been nails. I just pulled up a picture for everybody watching on YouTube. Now I'll just show you what Bert Auburn is wearing walking into DKR tonight. It's like a Christmas-looking suit. You got candy canes on there. Christmas trees on there.
So obviously he knows you've been calling him Sideshow Bird or whatever.
Stockings on here. Santa hats on here.
Grinch is on there. What the hell is that?
It's the wrong holiday. It's Thanksgiving, not Christmas. Save that for like the playoff game, dude. Well, don't be wearing that on Black Friday.
Come on there, Sideshow.
I guess it's his last chance to dress up for a game here in Austin. So he wanted to pull out all the stops on senior night. That is incredible. The kicker. I mean, with that hair, he has some personality, but
of course,
that is something.
It's got
different.
Some personality with that suit right now too.
That is something different right there. All right, you talked about Jordan Whittington a little bit. He's another one of those guys who I think is gone after this year.
I think he has to go.
I know the Texas coaching staff would love to get another year of eligibility for Jay Witt, but this is his final home game here in Austin. JT Sanders, like those two guys are kind of one and the same for me, where it's been a big topic of conversation amongst Texas fans that those guys just haven't gotten the ball as much as you think that they should. Like Jordan Whittington has been an incredible player over the course of his Texas career.
Yes.
And his stats are worse this year than they've been in his past couple of seasons. And then JT Sanders, we're talking about a guy that Mel Kiper Jr. has as his second best tight end in the 2024 NFL draft coming up in April. And there are games where he's just not a huge part of this offense. What do you think we see from those two guys maybe in their last games here?
I know this. JT Sanders is the guy that I'm not going to deny the football, because he's so important in all the other ways on the football field when it comes to the run game. I've got to have him interested. And I've watched him over the last couple of years of his interest when the ball doesn't come to him early, because he's not interested late in blocking for you late in the game. And he's no different than any other. And that doesn't make him selfish. That just makes him a football player. He wants you to, if you talk about how good he is and you're telling everybody how good he is, and we all know that Mel Kiper and this and that, and you don't get him the ball early, then when you start saying, hey, I need you to catch this ball in the fourth quarter, they're going to look at you like, what? You mean you need me now? I mean, it's just kind of human nature. And that's just football players. That's just the way, that's football players, basketball player, most athletes. If you're not interested in them, if you tell them how much you love them, but you don't show them any love, and then it's late in the game and you expect them to be, warmed up and ready to go, it's not going to happen. That's just been his kind of MO. If I've watched it. Now others would say, oh no, he's just good. But I really watch him because I know how good he could be, but if for Jordan Whittington, that's a wide receiver position. They only have so many balls to go out to those dudes, as Sark says. I mean, you can't have 3 wide receivers getting 12 catches a game. It's just not going to be possible.
Yeah.
And then trying to make JT Sanders happy. You can't do that.
I think it's part of the reason why Texas fans have been so frustrated with the lack of catches for Jatavion Sanders this year. Pulling up his numbers, he's got 28 catches. He had almost twice that last year.
That dude's a 60-catch-a-year guy.
You would think so. Yeah, and he was in the 50s a season ago.
Right.
The reason why Texas fans are so upset about it is because this red zone offense has been abysmal.
True.
At times this year. And it seems like the tight end should be your security blanket in the red area, and it feels like Texas should put more of a focal point on trying to get him the ball. So, hey, last week Texas scored a couple of times outside of the red zone. Like that's what you should want as a Texas fan.
Well, that's what Georgia's coach talks about. He said, we don't talk red zone football here because – we don't mind scoring out from the 40.
I think every Longhorn fan gets a little nervous whenever it's a first and goal or anything and goal for this Texas team. So, in a perfect world, hey, you're hitting a couple of deep shots to X-Man and Adonai Mitchell, and you're not worried about those red zone situations. But if you get there, hopefully we see some JT Sanders, because those throws over the middle of the field to a big-bodied target like that just seems like it makes sense that he should be a point of emphasis.
Yeah, I just think Quentin Ewers has made A.D. Mitchell his tight end, kind of. Because he plays that. He can play in the slot. He can play in there, but he's running in there where the big boys run,
Yep.
And he's making a lot of catches in that 15-yard area, and he catches the ball when you throw it to him.
Absolutely.
He feels very confident in throwing him the football, so I think it's taken away a lot of Sanders' balls in there because A.D. Mitchell runs in there just like he was a tight end.
Yeah.
He's not afraid. I mean, he is, like I said, he's a fantastic wide receiver. He looks like a pro already, the way he runs his routes and the way he catches the football. And he gets hit. I mean, he gets hit, he takes the hit, and he catches the ball. The ball doesn't hit the ground.
Right.
Just jinxed him.
Yeah, come on, man. Now, if he drops one, we know who to blame.
Yep.
You got a bold prediction for today? I mean, last week.
Just 30-20. Okay. I think 30-20.
You called a punt return touchdown last week.
And there's going to be a punt block tonight.
Okay, there's the bold prediction we're looking for.
Punt block. We need it before half, too.
First half punt block.
Yes, first half punt block. Block that punt.
Does it turn into a touchdown?
It turns into a turnover. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not saying what it turns into. I'm not predicting what the offense will do with it. Because it could happen in the scoring zone, and you know what happens in the scoring zone here.
Yeah. What about this guy? Can he go out there and block a punt? Got a young Texas fan here ready to go.
Of course. He's got those long fingers. He can get out there and without hitting and roughing up the punter.
Oh, look at that jump.
There you go.
Guy's got good form right there. It's impressive. He also has a koozie in his hand. He's too young for that.
Yeah, and this special teams, it's time for them to, they haven't had a kickoff return. There's not been very many kick returns in football this year. You just don't see them anymore. When you start asking about kickoff returns for touchdowns, no. But block punts, there's specialty stuff for that. And for, Keelan Robinson, I mean, here's a guy who's been around here. He's probably good. Does he go next year? He's got to go too, doesn't he?
I think he's got 4 more years.
Wow. I don't know how they do that in college football.
I think he's gone.
Okay, I mean, this is a game for him too. I mean, this is his fairway tour. I'm pretty sure he's not happy about the way things have gone for him since he's been here. He's been more of a specialist than an actual running back. I was expecting last week to see a little bit of him. I was surprised we didn't last week.
Yeah, we didn't. It was the C.J. Baxter show, and then Jaden Blue was the first runner off the bench. Double checking the box score. Yeah, Keelan Robinson did not have a carry in the game last week. So be nice for a little kickoff return magic tonight. Maybe not a touchdown, but some sort of big time.
That's guy needs to block that punt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's also been good at that. He obviously blocked the one against Oklahoma a couple of months ago. All right, one final scoreboard update, then we'll get to the Bucs' 3 keys to a Longhorn victory. And we're broadcasting live from Crown and Anchor. A lot of folks commenting on the Clean Cause YouTube comments line, wondering whose backyard we're in right now. Because we got just a fence behind us right here.
The building right there.
No one's backyard. We're here at Crown and Anchor Pub, which is basically in the backyard of DKR Texas Memorial Stadium. If you're going to the game, stop by here for a beer. If you're looking for a place to watch the game, have a few beers and watch the game. Have a burger here. Have a burger. They've got great food here as well. Love our friends at Crown and Anchor, and we are super grateful that they have had us out for the last couple of home games here in Austin. All right, scoreboard update before we get to your 3 keys. Our scoreboard updates are brought to you by our friends at Moonshine Patio Bar and Grill. A couple of finals from earlier today. Number 13, Oklahoma, 69. Nice. TCU, 45. So with the win, Oklahoma keeps its slim Big 12 championship hopes alive. They'll be rooting for Texas Tech tonight. They'll also be rooting for BYU against Oklahoma State tomorrow. Texas Oklahoma will get in if either of those teams lose. Another final, number 17, Iowa beats Nebraska 13-10, the lowest Vegas total in the history of Vegas totals. The number was 24.5, and the under still hit 23 total points in a game that if you watched, I feel like I owe you an apology. Iowa gets the win. They're 10-2. They will be playing in the Big Ten championship next week.
That is real Big Ten football there.
It is.
Or the way Big Ten used to be played.
Yeah, it is. It is. And thank God the Big Ten is getting rid of divisions next year.
Yes.
So we don't have to worry about Iowa or Northwestern or Minnesota.
Getting into it, being half of it.
Oh, my gosh. We can actually get an Ohio State-Michigan rematch, which would be pretty fun.
Absolutely.
Other games going on. Number 9, Missouri, all over Arkansas, 41-0.
Sure they're keeping Pittman?
In Fayetteville. That's a great question there. Number 23, Tulane over UTSA right now, 23-10. Early fourth quarter. Other Big 12 action games tomorrow, right? There's only 2 games today. Mentioned the Oklahoma score. Obviously, the Longhorns are part of the other one. Tomorrow, really the game that matters the most is happening in Stillwater. Number 20, Oklahoma State hosting BYU. The Cowpokes 17-point favorites. If Texas wins tonight and Oklahoma State wins tomorrow, boom, there's your Big 12 championship. It doesn't matter what Oklahoma did today. It won't matter what K-State does tomorrow. It won't matter what ever happens in the rest of the conference. Those are the 2 teams that control their own destiny. Sure feels like we're headed to Battle of Orange at Jerry World next Saturday.
Yes.
Which I think we'd sign up for.
Heck yeah.
I said earlier this week, I want to play Oklahoma State. I think most Texas fans want to see OU, but I want to win the last ever matchup against Oklahoma State.
Gundy, you'll gag it.
Yeah, Gundy, that's what he does. Well, they had a chance to win that game and make the playoff a couple of years ago, and they lost to Dave Aranda and Baylor.
That's right.
They couldn't pick up it feels like Texas. They couldn't score from the 1-yard line. There you go. K-State still has a chance to make it to the conference championship game. They need Oklahoma State and Texas to lose for that. I don't even know if that's right. I'm going to stop talking about tiebreaker scenarios. Nobody knows what's happening. All we know is that Texas is in if they win tonight.
Just win the game.
I don't care about anything else. Just win this game that kicks off in a little bit less than an hour. Scoreboard updates brought to you by our friends at Moonshine Patio Bar and Grill. And now with about 20 minutes left in our pregame show, it is time for Bucky's 3 keys to a Longhorn victory.
BK, first of all, they got to establish that you are going to run the football. The Longhorns have to establish they are going to run the ball. Then that doesn't mean bang your head against the wall all night trying to run the football. But you established that last week with your young runners. You know, you didn't have your Doak Walker probably finalists in there running the ball, but you did establish the run early and you didn't wait around, you know. And I think they do the same thing at home tonight. Establish that this offensive line is going to take control by establishing the run game and establish that you are going to defend the run because this Texas Tech team is not going to give up on the run. Their best player is their running back.
Yep.
And so if it doesn't work early, they're going to continue at it. They'll be at it in the fourth quarter too. They won't be. This is not Mike Leach's. They won't be throwing it all around like they used to. They're still going to go back to the run because once again, this coaching staff believes, like TCU's coaching staff, if you punch Texas enough, they'll eventually roll over. Now, we haven't seen much of that, but they still believe it. They still coach it. They still talk about it to their players. So establish you're going to defend the run attack of Texas Tech. Mm-hmm. And then 4 explosive plays tonight, 3 on offense, 1 on defense. And I'm expecting to see 2 on defense, 1 a fumble recovery, the other one an interception. I'd like to see 4. I think 4 will be enough.
Okay.
You know, and if there's 3 on offense, that's fine. 3 explosive offensive plays. One's going over the top for a touchdown.
What do you define as an explosive play?
25 yards or more.
Okay. So 3 of those on offense and then at least 1 turnover on defense?
Yes.
Okay.
At least 1 on defense. I mean, that and I'll count that also in the special teams. If there's a block punt, that's an explosive play. That'll count. I would say that counts too.
Okay.
But if there's it doesn't have to necessarily be a pick 6. It just needs to be a pick.
That's an explosive play.
Yeah. An interception is an explosive play. When you take the ball from the other dudes,
all right,
that's explosive.
I'll call that. So establish the ground game.
Yes.
Stop Texas Tech's ground game. And
4 explosives.
A minimum of 4 explosive plays.
Minimum of 4.
Minimum of 4. Yeah, come on. Same big. We scored 70 on these guys the last time we played them in Austin.
Then wasn't there a year that
in a 5-7 season, Texas scored 70 on these
Kingsbury
fools.
kept his job because of this last game
yeah,
here.
Yeah, that did happen. And it
that
was on a Black Friday here in Austin.
It was a Black Friday.
Was it McLean Carter was the quarterback or was it Nick Shimanek?
That dude was about to get fired that night.
Yep. And I think Texas Tech kind of wished he did get fired that night because they had to deal with him for another year there in Lubbock. So
I didn't mind because that dude smells good.
yeah, you do love the smell of Cliff Kingsbury. Hook him, y'all.
Smells like a fresh tossed salad.
Yeah,
that dude.
that is gross. There are kids around here, dude. Don't be talking about tossing salads. Okay?
Well, the guy smelled like a salad. I couldn't help it. Cliff Kingsbury was one of the best smelling men I've ever been around.
What does a salad even smell like? That's not like a cologne. No one wears like Caesar salad cologne. You're making it sound like that's a smell that everybody knows and loves.
I mean, haven't you gone to like
No.
No?
There's
None
a
of those
salad
places
there.
where
I
they have a
haven't
big
been
salad
there.
bar. You haven't gone by the salad bar. Get that good. Oh, that smells great. Smells really fresh.
That's what Cliff Kingsbury smells like?
He smells so fresh, that dude. I miss that guy at the Big 12 meetings because he'd go by us by the table, and it was like, wow, what a breath of fresh air. What a good smelling man.
What a salad that is.
What a salad he
I
is.
can smell the croutons.
If I could just throw some salad dressing on the top of that dude's head, that guy was luscious.
You're trying to eat him?
No, I'm just telling you.
Ew. God, that is nasty. Hey, he might be the coach at A&M. There's some rumors that
There's no chance.
I mean, if they're smart.
He'll never smell like a salad again if he goes there.
Smell like what, incest?
Oh, he'll smell like sheep. I was at Illinois. I know what sheep smell like.
Okay, I have no more questions on that.
No, none.
I don't know if Hat Creek wants to sponsor that, but they have to.
Of course they do.
The Hat Creek Burger Company sponsors the Bucks' 3 keys to victory. If you've lived anywhere in Texas, you know about Hat Creek Burger Company. 26 locations all across the state. Of course, they started in Austin. They started as a food truck down on 6th Street behind Star Bar, and they have grown and evolved over the last 15 years. That's right, 15 years for Hat Creek Burger Company. The best burgers and fries and shakes that you can find. Their shakes are ridiculous, dude.
They are. Love those shakes.
And they still got the queso going on.
Still dipping queso in burgers?
You don't dip the queso in burgers. You dip the burgers in queso.
You just stick it right in there, like in it, and then bite it.
And they got fries too. You can dip the fries in queso.
Well, I can dip the fries in queso. I can't dip a burger. I mean, just take the burger and just put it down.
Dang.
Go home and put it in a soup bowl and just slam it down there and then eat
No,
it.
they serve it in a big enough bowl. You can just dip it in there. You don't even need to waste a soup bowl.
Wow.
Save that for your freshly tossed Kingsbury salad. You can save the bowls for something else.
Save it for the salad.
You don't need that stuff at all.
Wow.
Oh, man. All right. Thanks to our friends at Hat Creek Burger Company. I will say this.
You know, I did see Cliff Kingsbury when I live. I'm wanting to become the mayor of Dripping Springs, by the way.
Yeah.
Thinking about that running.
Are you declaring right now?
No, not declaring yet. Not yet. Not wait till we get to a championship game. But I want to make sure that you understand that I saw Cliff Kingsbury the night before he was going, I think, to his brother's wedding. And he walked by me. I'm at a place. And I wanted to say something to him.
Yeah.
But I never had the guts to say, Coach, what is it that you're wearing?
You had the chance to ask?
I had to. I know it wasn't like Cool River or whatever the hell it is people wear. Like Bob Cole.
That's what our guy Bob Cole wears all the time. That guy runs through a bottle a week of that stuff.
So I had my chance. I had my big chance. I'm right at a place. He's there, but he's there at breakfast. It's early. And, all this hair was in place and everything else. But I didn't bother to say to him, I've been kind of following your career, and I've seen you a couple of times. We've met. We've shaken hands at the Big 12 meet. What is it that you wear that makes you smell so fresh? I just couldn't bring myself to do it. At 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, that dude's liable to say, hey, listen, I've been partying all night long.
Yeah.
He is still a bachelor.
He was a partier.
So he didn't want to hear me tell him he's telling another man that how good he smelled.
Yeah.
No.
You had the chance and you blew it.
I blew it.
Yeah. You coached at Tech for like 6 years. You had plenty of opportunity.
I did.
And you went to Big 12 Media Days every year.
Smell the same. Just like a Caesar salad.
Wow. With croutons, huh?
With croutons, yeah.
Caesar dressing.
Dressing and all, man.
There's little cheese shreds on there, too.
Freshly smell like that.
I got to tell your wife about this, dude.
I think she knows about my deal with that dude.
What is he your hall pass? Guys get a hall pass with like some celebrity woman and you're choosing Cliff Kingsbury as your celebrity hall pass?
No, I guess if
What ear is your earring on?
It's in my left ear, and I smell good too, but I just never smelled like that guy. I've never smelled. I mean, maybe I've never smelled a woman to smell like that dude.
You got to ask him so your wife can wear Cliff Kingsbury's fragrance.
I'm gonna find out.
Yeah.
I should have asked about if that Cool River or whatever it is that you're wearing.
Golly, I don't even know how to transition away from that. I'm worried you're about to transition to something else at some point. Texas and Texas Tech. Look, I'm actually more worried about this game than I was last week.
You are?
Yeah. And it all depends on Texas Tech's game plan. If Texas Tech does what it's done the last 6 weeks, which is rely heavily on Taj Brooks, they've got no shot. I know
No,
Taj
oh,
Brooks
no.
is a great player. He leads the country in missed tackles forced, averaging 5.5 yards a carry. Tech has won 3 games in a row in large part because they're feeding him the ball. He's the best player on the team, so it makes sense. But you can't run against this Texas defense. If you just try to run it over and over again, it's not going to work.
Yeah, and you're not going to get those 3rd and 4s where you run for first downs against them either.
Right. Texas is top 5 in the country in rushing defense in terms of yards per carry allowed and in terms of yards per game allowed. So if Tech tries to do that, they've got no shot, and Texas is going to win this game by 4 touchdowns.
Now, do they have
or
a
more.
dynamic wide receiver? Because over the years, they've had this 6'5" or 6'4" wide receiver that's just tall. They just throw it up for grabs.
They don't have, I won't even say the C word because that name still gives us all sorts of nightmares, or at least gives me all sorts of nightmares. They don't have that 1st or 2nd round pick on the outside. They've got 5 guys with 24 or more catches this year, so they kind of spread the rock around. So
Okay.
They don't have a 1st or 2nd round pick, but they've got a few guys who can make some things happen in the
But
passing
do they have
game.
a guy that they'll go 50-50 balls with and say,
They've got some size.
our guys is our wide receiver is better than your cornerback, any of your cornerbacks?
Well, Westlake could do that, and it would work against this Texas secondary, I think, at times this year. That's a problem. But if Texas Tech, like Zach Kidley's their offensive coordinator, and he was at Western Kentucky when they had Mike White,
and they throw
who's
the ball,
an
yes.
NFL quarterback, and he was also at Houston Baptist, now Houston Christian. I guess they got tired of the Baptist. They
Sure,
went all
they went all
denominations.
Christian.
With Bailey Zappi, who's now in the league with the Patriots. Like, okay, those guys aren't great pro quarterbacks, but come on, Western Kentucky and Houston Baptist are having quarterbacks that are drafted. Those guys worked with Zach Kidley. He threw a ton. He's like a Mike Leach disciple where he threw it 50 to 60 times a game, and a lot of it was short and intermediate. I don't think Baron Morton's going to throw 50 to 60 times a game, but they need to use the pass to set up the run. If they are using those short and intermediate throws, it's what killed Texas and Lubbock last year. It's what Texas Tech did early in the season, even though they weren't winning games. That was basically a big part of their offenses. That's what they wanted to do. If they're smart, they're going to say, man, no one's been able to run the ball. Teams with better offensive lines have not been able to push Texas's defensive front around.
They've got a pretty average line.
We need to throw to set up the run. And if they do that, if they go short and intermediate in breaking routes, which we know Kitley likes to do, and we know Texas Tech can do because they've been doing it for years, then they can set up the run. They also go up tempo so Texas can't rotate guys on the defensive line. That's what TCU was doing in the second half, which is why Texas looked so tired up front in the 4th quarter. If they do that, this game could be a lot closer than any Texas fan wants.
It was very nice last week, that methodical offense that Iowa State ran, and guys they didn't need that much of a blow last week.
Yeah.
They just played.
Iowa State was one of the slowest teams in the country.
Yes.
And look, Sweat and Murphy are the 2 best defensive tackles, but what makes those guys so good is the fact that Texas can bring Alfred Collins in for a few plays. They can bring Vernon Broughton in for a few plays. So they keep Sweat and Murphy fresh in the second halves of these games, and those guys can still wreak havoc in the 4th quarter. If you're going up tempo and you don't allow Texas to sub guys out, then you get into a scenario where maybe Sweat and Murphy are off the field for like 5 plays in a row, or they're on the field a bunch early, which means they're not going to be as effective late.
Well, I'll just say this is a wonderful night for a football game. This is beautiful. I mean, if you're a player, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is you know what I mean? It's not too hot, not too cold. It's just right, BK. So I would expect that they won't need a lot of substitution, especially with a guy like Sweat, who this is his last game. That dude is going to want to play every down tonight.
Right. So that's the part of this matchup that scares me. Like if Tech, and once again, Tech's been running in a lot, and maybe they're saying, well, we've won 3 in a row doing this, so we're going to keep doing this. If
they're going to feel like
they
can. Well, they're going to feel like they can. They're
going to learn early that they can't.
Okay. Well, that'll be on Joey McGuire because he's going to, just like he talks about, just punch them. Eventually, that group from Austin will roll over. They will say that's enough. We'll give into it. They're going to get some chunk yards. Now they're going to get some big plays in the run game. He's been preaching that all week long. So I would still expect them to try to establish a run. I mean, not just for a couple series, but throughout the game, feeling like, eventually they're going to make Texas start to falter on that defensive line. And a lot of teams have tried that, and it just hadn't worked.
It just hadn't worked. No. I got to show the people this video and let you hear this one more time. Here's your bulletin board material as we sit about 40 minutes away from kickoff. After the game last year, inside the Texas Tech locker room, their head coach, Joey McGuire, doing a lot of talking after Tech knocked off Texas. Here it was, and hopefully this has been playing in the Texas locker room all week.
Hey, I asked you to keep fighting. You did. Said it's going to be, when we came out of half, we had 2 more rounds to fight, and you did. I told you they were going to break, and they did. Yes, sir. I told you they were going to break, and did. The reporter asked me at the end, says, what's it mean to win this game and beat Texas. I said it doesn't mean anything to beat Texas. We're 1-0 in the Big 12. That's what it means. I'm telling y'all right now, the country's going to find out. Everything runs through Lubbock. Everything runs through Lubbock.
Everything runs through Lubbock.
Last time I had diarrhea, it ran through Lubbock. Yeah, that's what's about to happen. Is going to run through Lubbock. Yeah, that's the one right there.
Yep.
That when he talked about afterwards, everything's going to run through Lubbock.
I'm playing all that stuff. At the start, he said, well, I told you Texas was going to quit. I'm playing that if I'm starting this week. They think you're going to quit in this game.
He's not the
Friday.
only coach in this conference that's been talking about Texas that way. TCU has done it forever. Baylor did it when they were good. They quit doing it.
Yep.
They quit saying it because they figured out, no, we're not as good as they are. We better quit saying that. No matter how we punch them, they'll punch back. Because Baylor this year got punched back pretty good. They got punched out. They got punched out from the start to the bitter end.
Yeah, they did.
But TCU felt that way. They're gonna they'll feel that way. You know who won't get a chance to do that? That thought that way was Houston did too. Houston thought the same thing. Just keep punching at this group.
Right.
There'll be a time that they give in. But for a lot of teams that just had Alabama thought that. Alabama thought that for the last 2 years. Didn't work for them either.
Yep. So I'd be playing that all week long. Joey McGuire's comments. I will say this. I'll give McGuire some credit. Now, he has said a lot of stupid stuff over the last year and a half, and he's written a lot of checks that he just hasn't been able to cash.
High school guy.
Interesting you say that. He's been good in November. He's 6-1 in the month of November in his 2 years at Texas Tech. And I feel like high school coaches kind of think that way, right? Because high school football
playoff time.
Just get to the playoffs, right? 4 teams from every district make the playoffs.
No matter what your record is.
So, like, you can start the year, you can lose all of your by-district or non-district games, whatever you call them, and then if you just get hot at the right time, then you've got a chance to do something special. Obviously, college football doesn't work that way because if you lose twice, you're out of the national championship picture, so it's a little bit different. But, like, high school coaches, I think, are kind of wired to where it's like, let's just keep getting better as the year progresses, and let's make sure we're playing our best football at the end of the season. McGuire's been doing that. When you think of Hook'em guys, when you think of Texas Tech in recent years, under Kingsbury especially, they would get off to these really good starts, and then in November they would just completely fall apart and come tumbling down.
And I think that's why Joey McGuire, when he talks about Sark and giving him a phone call and saying, that's a culture build, I think that's what he's doing. I think he's trying to build that kind of culture, and he understands that it takes some time. It just doesn't happen overnight. And especially when you don't have the kind of talent. And we know the kind of kids that Texas Tech will get. They're going to get the third-tier kids. They're going to get 2 stars and 3 stars. So they have to have a culture. They have to find what their role is and what their culture is going to be like. And I think Joey McGuire is sincere about talking to Sark and saying, good job, coach. I'd like to build my program just like you're building yours. You've got these talented kids, but it's still taking you a couple of years to build it.
Olive Branch.
Asking
for forgiveness.
No, is he asking?
Don't be so hard on us.
Don't run up 50 on us.
Don't run up the score like the Dallas Cowboys did yesterday.
Baby.
Just take it easy on us. I didn't mean what I said last year. I didn't mean it.
My deal is running up on all of them on the way out.
I'm with you on that. You need those style points.
By the way, you're going to need the run it up tonight with this group that's officiating this game.
Amen. All right, we've got a couple of minutes left, which means it's time for our score predictions. Brought to you by our great friends over at Paul's Motor Works. More about them in a second. We've got our man Young Brock here with us at Crown and Anchor Pub, and he always gives a score prediction. So, Brock, you want to throw on the headset and give us your take on tonight's game?
Yeah, give me Texas 34, Texas Tech 10.
34-10. Ooh, so a win and a cover for the Longhorns.
Is it a cover? What's the line at now?
15.
Okay.
You've got 24. I know you're in college. You haven't graduated yet, so math might be tough for you. You sure you go to Texas and not Texas Tech? With that math?
I was a little bit off on that one.
Yeah, well, 24-point win. 34-10?
Okay. Yeah, 24.
Okay, a win and a cover.
All right.
Bucky, what say you?
I'm still thinking 30-20. Texas, 30-20.
Okay, so a win but no cover.
Yeah, you know what? And I was thinking last week when we did that 4-point deal that was going to be, I should have known better. Yeah, and I'm still going to go 30-20.
Okay.
I'll take a 30-20 win.
I'm going to go 34-27. I'm telling you, man.
Ooh, that's scary.
People are going to be pissed if that's the case. I don't know what it is. I'm probably giving Tech too much credit. They're 6-5. They've won 3 in a row, but they've beaten some bad teams. They did go on the road to Lawrence and beat Kansas, but it wasn't Jalen Daniels and it wasn't Jason Bean playing QB for the Jayhawks. It was a freshman making his first ever start. in college. So, well, actually, he came in the middle of the game because Jason Bean went down with an injury in that one. I don't know, man. This one final time between these two teams. Texas Tech wants this one really, really bad, and the Longhorns have played in a lot of close games this year. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Texas gets that statement win. We've gotten a number of score predictions on Twitter. We've gotten a number of score predictions on our YouTube comment line brought to you by Clean Cause. A lot of people think this will be an easy win. I hope you people are right. I hope I'm the wrong one. But
yeah, I think 30-20. I just think it'll be a good football game for a while. I think Texas and the Texas players understand what's at stake here.
Yep.
In this football game. This is, I mean, it's great for Texas Tech. I mean, just some bragging rights and go about your business. But this is for a championship for the University of Texas. This is some. They've been in championship play since Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Every week, every game has been that they've played has been a championship type of ball game.
Yeah.
And whether they win by 3 or they win by 1, it won't matter because you'll be in Arlington next week. If you win by 1, if you win by 3, it doesn't matter. You just have to win the football game.
Well, we know the Big 12 championship is next week, but you can't win the Big 12 championship unless you win tonight.
That's right. It
That's
doesn't really matter unless you win this game tonight. So find a way to win the game. Find a way in the fourth quarter not to give in to anything that they're trying to do. I mean, you're going to have enough obstacles during the course of this game and guys wearing stripes tonight. So you got to go ahead and you got to play the best you can play and try to get to a big lead and extend that lead tonight.
Amen. Amen. All right, we're out of time. A reminder.
Good stuff, BK. Way to go.
The post-game show with Kevin Dunn and Zay Collier will take place right after the game goes final tonight. Win or lose, you can catch Kevin and Zay right here on Texas Sports Unfiltered on YouTube and on the free Texas Sports Unfiltered app. And the Buck and I will be back on Monday. And, Lord, we hope to see all of you next weekend in Arlington.
Absolutely.
That is the goal. If Texas gets the win, we're going to be up there. We're going to have some live broadcasts. We don't want to put the cart before the horse, though, so we're not going to tell you anything about that just yet. But thanks to our friends at Crown and Anchor Pub for having us out. Tremendous crowd on hand today.
Yeah, thanks to our friends over at Covert BK have also always to them.
Got to give them some love. Oh, Paul's Motorworks.
Paul's Motorworks.
To tell you about them. Yep. They if something's wrong with your car, go to Paul's Motorworks. They're the very best in the business. Foreign and domestic automotive care. They've been around since 2000. They focus on those nicer whips, the BMWs, the Mercedes, the Porsches, the Audis. But, hey, if something's wrong with any car that you drive,
they handle my Subaru.
They can handle the lesbian car that the Buck has. And, look, I drive a Nissan. They change the oil. That's where I go to get the oil change. Go. It's that simple. They're the best. Great people, Longhorn fans. Paul's Motorworks, 620 and 2222. Hard to find a reliable car mechanic. They've got you. And, yeah, shout out to our friends at Covert BK. If you're looking for a new car, truck, or SUV, or a new pre-owned car, truck, or SUV,
you got it.
Go see our friends at Covert BK. Many thanks to them for their great sponsorships with Texas Sports Unfiltered. Thanks again to Crown and Anchor. Thanks to Mason. Thanks to Brock. Thanks to you, Buck.
You be careful out there tonight, BK.
Hopefully we're celebrating a win. Hopefully we are all celebrating a win. And thanks to all of you for tuning in to our Texas Sports Unfiltered pre-game show. For the final time, it's Texas and Texas Tech a little less than 30 minutes from now. Y'all enjoy the game. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be safe.
Hook 'em.
And hook 'em.